Hey there. Before we embark on our journey back into the world of giant sentient houses filled with skeletons and talking dogs, we wanted to give a quick content warning for something we discuss in this episode. There's a plot point later in the episode that involves non-consensual sex, so if that's something that will make you regret the fact that you were listening to this episode, we encourage you to skip past it. We'll include timestamps in the show notes. The well-being of our listeners is of the utmost importance to us, so if that's something that you don't want to hear, please don't hesitate to skip over it. Unless you're a listener who is complaining on Twitter about Tifa's breast size being too small in the remake, in which case, fuck you and don't listen. Thanks so much, everyone.
All right, this is a podcast. It's July. It's the day before July 4th. I am random enemy A, Curtis Ware. With me as always,
It's Carl Germ.
and with us as always, but for the first time in front of a microphone, we have.
Hi, this is Alex, Hammer Blaster engineer.
I love to be hammer blasted.
We should. I'm really excited that he's got a mic now, so we should.
I know.
We should splice in the fanfare music.
right.
It's a victory for me.
Yeah, you guys were obviously doing. You guys are doing so poorly with two guys alone. It was unbearable watching two guys who knew what they were talking about. So obviously, someone who's not played a single Final Fantasy.
Yeah, no.
I felt like it was my duty to pop in.
Yeah, so Alex has been here since episode 1. He's doing the engineering for us and all the audio recording. Basically, Carl and I have been taking all the glory, and Alex has been doing all the work.
He's the real MVP.
Real MVP. He's the real mastered materia. He's all the way up.
He's the huge materia.
Yo, he's level 99.
I'll know what all that means eventually.
Yeah, and he's also playing.
You're gonna listen to this in like a year and be like, "Oh shit, okay."
Yeah.
None of those jokes were good. I get it now.
I am the avatar to the audience. I say those who haven't played Final Fantasy VII. I'm playing along with the podcast. So as far as we are in this podcast now, episode 3 is as much as I've played Final Fantasy VII. So I have no idea what's coming.
Yeah, and it's gonna be an absolute terror.
Is this the one with Donald Duck?
Yes.
This is the one with Donald Duck, where he tries to say Sephiroth.
They all have Donald Duck. It's like a Biggs wedge.
Do you remember before we started the podcast, we decided a funny thing to do would be each episode to try to say an enemy or boss name as Donald Duck? Or as we like bring on guests, we're like, okay, it's time. Say Sephiroth is Donald Duck. All right, Carl, it's your turn. Do it.
Sephiroth is Donald Duck.
As Donald Duck.
As Donald
Pretend
Duck.
you're... Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm not prepared for that. All right.
I thought it was Sephiroth. Isn't the U.S. localization?
Oh, Sephiroth.
I'm sure we'll get there.
We can go ahead and just mute your mic right now.
Quick, producer, cut the mic. Oh shit!
Yeah. Oh no, he has too much power. All right. So where do we leave off? We left off just having escaped the Sector 7 plate falling down. Our hero swang away on top of Barrett.
Very kick-ass. Very awesome.
Yeah, and we're going back to Elmira's house because that's where Aerith left Marlene.
Yep.
And I guess I'll say Aerith this episode and
whatever.
lull everybody into a false sense of security.
So I'm going to say Eris.
Okay, all right, yeah.
So you can all hear I have a slight lisp, and that's why I go with Aerith anyway.
So before we actually get to Elmira's house, one thing I wanted to point out that we very lightly touched on last time is that when you are walking through Sector 6 the first time, or Sector 5, is that...
Sure.
Yeah. There's a kid who you can steal 5 gil from.
Yes.
Right. So if you did not do that on the way back to Elmira's house, this kid has like invested his 5 gil, and one of the things he's made in addition is a turbo ether. Ether?
Ether. It doesn't matter.
And he'll actually give it to you. And so like if you didn't take 5 gil, you get a turbo ether.
Yeah, that kid, and he says he wants to be like a master,
big shot on Wall Market.
Yeah, and like if you can turn 5 gil into a turbo ether, which I think is the first time you see it in this game, that's a pretty good item.
That's a really good item, yeah.
He might have something.
Yeah, which turbo ether for people who haven't played the game is going to be an MP replenishing item. I think it does all your MP.
Maybe I didn't.
It's a lot either way.
It's more than the regular, as the name turbo turbo would make
Yeah, as you would think.
So yeah, I think where we left off was just right after it fell and they're in the playground. There's a little bit of dialogue if you wanted to go through that. It's basically just
I didn't write any of it down, but
yeah, no, that's fine.
Barrett has kind of Charles Heston at the end of Planet of the Apes kind of thing.
Yeah.
Damn it all to hell kind of vibe.
Yeah. He says, "What the hell is it all for?" And he's really distraught over it. And I think he's just unloading on the debris.
Yeah, he's just firing at the debris.
I love that that's just Barrett's solution to everything is to just unload his gun arm.
As we'll see at the end of this episode, too.
Yeah, so he's really upset mostly because he thinks his daughter was just crushed to death.
Right.
So he's screaming Marlene a lot, and then he's also screaming the name of all his companions.
Right, because Avalanche has been crushed under this. So Jesse, Wedge, and Biggs are dead now. Like that's the last time we're going to see them.
So it's... and there's
machine.
What's that?
And the pinball machine, the Texas.
Oh yeah, oh man, Texas,
Texas Cowboy,
cold beer or whatever the other ones said.
Yeah,
much history lost.
Yeah. So Tifa is like, oh well, don't worry, I'm pretty sure Marlene is safe. Like right before she got taken away, Aerith said, "Don't worry, she's safe."
Right.
So Barrett's like, oh okay, that's good news, but we still lost everyone and all these innocent lives.
Yeah.
And Tifa gets a little upset about it, and she's thinking like, is this because of Avalanche? Like this, like our actions just caused this to kill everyone in Sector 7.
Right.
And like, and Barrett's like, yeah, they destroyed an entire village just to get to us. They killed so many people.
Right.
And that's when like Tifa's like, oh my God, this is like, it's all kind of weighing on her now. And she's like, this is our fault.
Yeah.
And
Barrett, he rejects it outright. He is not willing to take that at all.
Yeah,
He's like, no, this is the Shinra.
He said, hell no.
Yeah, he says it's always been the Shinra.
He said it's the Shinra. It's never been anyone but the Shinra.
Right.
So he's grinding this axe pretty hard.
Absolutely.
And also points out that like even like at the top level, like they're destroying the planet anyway. Like they're already doing this. This is just a more active thing, like a more direct action thing than them just slowly bleeding out the planet.
Right. So the gang goes to Elmira's house, which is Eris's mother, and they walk in, and as soon as you walk in, she's standing with her back to you, and you try to talk to her, and she said, Cloud, wasn't it? So she remembers your name. And Cloud tells her the news that Shinra now has Eris, right? So Marley's been brought here. Barrett tells Elmira, like, hey, that's my daughter that Eris brought here. I'm so sorry, and Elmira kind of gives it to him. She's like, oh, how could you leave a kid like that? Like, how could you do that?
Before we get into that, I just realized that there is one thing that we missed that's of some importance.
Okay.
When you're in the train graveyard and walking back, Tifa's like, oh, like you want to go and save Aerith. And Cloud's like, yeah, but there's something else I need to know too. Like there was mention, it's something about the ancients. And then there's another quick flash where there's just text that says, in my veins courses the blood of the ancients.
Oh, that's right.
I am one of the rightful heirs to this planet. And then Cloud says, Sephiroth?
Yeah.
So
I do remember that.
So again, he just has another one of his things. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's completely fine. Elmira is like, how could you leave your kid?
Yeah.
And this is actually a moment that I really loved because of how Barrett responds to it.
Right. Yeah. He's very like. He's not the most eloquent individual. He's a man of passion, right? Like that's his thing.
But the thing about it too is like anytime anything has happened, his first reaction has been like unload his gun or like scream curse words and things like that. With this, he says like, please, like don't say that. Like he's not like one of these guys who's just like, you fucking telling me how to raise my kid. He's like, listen, like you can tell that this greatly affects him to where he's like, I have to do this. This isn't something I want to do. And that I feel like this kind of shows that Barrett, like, morally is, like, the strongest character because he's just doing this because he has to. Like, he's...
Right.
We haven't... They haven't gone into it too much yet, but he's kind of seen the full, like, brunt of Shinra.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
He's like, they have to be stopped. This isn't what I want to do. I'd rather just spend my time with my friends and my daughter, but I have to go and fucking be an eco-terrorist to make sure that more innocent people aren't dying.
Right. So yeah, and he does say that. He's like, the only thing I want to do is just spend time with Marlene all the time. He's like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, he can't. So we also start getting a story here. Elmira starts talking to the party about Eris's history. Mm-hmm. And we learn that Elmira is not really her real mother. And we learn how that kind of came to be, and it started 15 years ago when her husband went off to fight in Wutai, which is a place that we'll get to as we play through the game.
She says some faraway place.
Some faraway place, yeah.
Wutai.
So
I've heard that the Wutai clan is nothing to fuck with. So I'm sorry.
Yeah,
everyone can stop listening now. It's fine. I felt obligated to make that really shitty joke.
Yeah, but we get a flashback here of 15 years ago. Her husband was sent away to war, and the war's over, and people have started returning home. Yeah,
he was placed on. She got a notice that he was placed on leave, so she's excited she gets to see her husband for a little while.
Right. So every day she's going to the train station, seeing the people get off the train and waiting for her husband. Which in this scene, did you notice? Two characters that we already know.
And it's pretty sad when you think about what just happened to them.
I know.
Swinging around the
and just to be clear, this is during the flashback of 15 years ago, which also makes me wonder how old these characters are.
Exactly.
Too.
I'll see if I can dig up my manual. I don't know if they'll have like secondary characters like Biggs and Wedge and all them, but they usually have like Cloud is 16 years old or whatever.
Yeah, right.
But on Elmira's way to go and find her husband 15 years ago, she passes by Biggs just swinging around a lamppost, and then he jumps down and picks up Jessie, and I think he spins her around or something. So I guess, were they a couple?
It really looks like it. Like at that point, like almost certainly, because they like hold hands when they walk away. But it's weird
because Jessie's like into Cloud.
Right, yeah. And Biggs isn't even that. He's not that aggressive toward Cloud or anything. And it could have been something like not gone wrong, but maybe they were together and it just didn't work out. And
which happens.
Which happens,
and
they stay friends.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But it does look like at one point Biggs and Jessie were a thing. Yeah.
And then, like you were saying, there's a couple people coming off the train, couple men from war, and there's this cute little scene of the one guy's like partner walking up to him, and he picks her up and spins her around. Yeah. And then, they start walking away, and then the next passenger gets off, and I think it's like the same model as like one of the shopkeepers, like the big
it's like
rotund,
a portly dude.
The big man, and he walks out, and his like wife picks him up and spins him around. And it's just, and like this is a pretty sad moment. Like, Aerith has been kidnapped. You're getting more backstory about her. You know that it's probably not going to be happy given the circumstances of everything. Right. Aerith theme is actually playing now, which is really a great theme. And like, you see all this goofy stuff happening, like this cute little like man being picked up. So I always love when they do that. Like
this game is especially good at it too. I feel like this one and maybe 9 are like the best about it.
Agreed.
Yeah. But one day, she says that day after day, she goes to the train station. Her husband never shows up. Yep. And then one day, she sees a woman on the steps and a little girl together, right? And this woman is dying, and the little girl's Eris, right?
And her mother looks a lot like her.
Right.
And Eris is, I guess, like 2 or 3, I think.
Must be.
I'm assuming she's like
or
17 or something in the so like she's like a real young kid. She's talking.
But Elmira tells us that this woman's last words are, "Please take Eris somewhere safe." Yeah. So already a little bit ominous from that. And she says, my husband didn't come back from war. I didn't have any kids. So, I took Eris in.
Lonely.
Absolutely, so she was lonely. She took Eris in.
And another like sad just kind of world building detail is she says like, you used to see this sort of thing like a lot during the war. So like times were rough. Even before like times are bad now, but even back 15 years ago, like times were rough for different reasons. But
Right. So she's kind of telling us a little bit about Eris growing up at the household, that she loved to talk all the time. And we see a couple scenes of her running through the house, and she's always just sprinting breakneck pace,
I think
through
at
the
one
house.
point she trips a little bit.
She trips and just gets up and keeps running.
A little scamp.
Yeah. And she just loves to talk, and she's talking all about how she and her mother escaped from a research facility, and that her mother had already returned to the planet.
Yeah, and then Barrett cuts in. He's like, "Return to the planet? Like, what does that mean?"
Yeah, and Elmira says, "Well, at first I thought she meant like to heaven or to the stars or something."
She returned to a star in the sky, like like a little kid, just their idea of the afterlife. But
right, and she goes, "No, not like she's very certain that she's returned to the planet."
And Elmira says that she was a mysterious child.
Yeah, and then we get like, oh man, every time I watch this scene, oh man, almost cry a little bit. I'm like, it's so devastating. But she says that one day, out of nowhere, Eris is still a little kid, and she comes down the stairs and just says, please don't cry. Out of nowhere, nothing else, right?
Yep.
And says, somebody you love has just died. Their spirit was on the way to see you, but they didn't make it, and they returned to the planet. And so she says, oh, at first I didn't think much about it because it was just kind of out of the blue, and it was random. And
Yeah, it's just a little kid saying this,
Yeah.
saying the weird phrase that, return to the planet. What does that mean?
Right. And then the next day, she gets a letter that says her husband has died. And so, and it's so sad, but like, it also like kind of shows you this power that Eris has.
There's something going on with Eris. Aerith. And then she just says, and that was it. And that a lot happened, but they were happy until one day.
Oh man, until one day we get another one of the Turks. The Turk we saw on the helicopter earlier saying, he shows up and says, hey, we want you to return Eris to us. We've been looking for her for a long time. And, like we just said, she escaped from a research laboratory. So we learned that the Turks are also, besides just looking for soldier candidates and other things like that, they're also running that research facility, or at least have something to do with it.
Yeah.
And they've come to look for her again.
Yeah. And he says that she's a very special child with you. And he says, you are of a special blood.
Right.
And your real mother was an ancient.
Yeah. And this kind of like prophecy or idea that they have that the ancients will lead them to a land of happiness, right?
And the way that he swings it too is pretty fucked up, because he's not like they escaped from a research facility, so that it's probably not the greatest like thing.
It's certainly not consensual, right?
Yeah, and like so this guy is like, oh, you need to help us. Like, you'll be able to bring happiness to all of those in the slums. So he's not just like, oh, like, we're going to take your daughter because, like, we have this agenda. He's just like, oh, no, it's actually, like, you'll actually help everyone. If you come with us
you
back
should
to that
do
place
this. It's
that
the right thing to do.
That your mother wanted you to escape from and died, presumably escaping from.
Right. Since this is our July 4th episode, if only there was some way to, like, relate America to keeping people in facilities...
That doesn't sound like
against
America.
their will. No, there's no way to combine those two things. I can't think of anything. We'll just continue on.
Yeah, we don't live in a horrible place.
right.
All this stuff with the slums and like people living above others and causing immense suffering to people below them. Thank God that doesn't happen in real life.
I know we're gonna today we're gonna be breaking into the building of a highly militarized oligarchy, much more concerned on profits and the status of the richest instead of the poorest citizens. If only we could think of a theme for this July 4th episode.
This is truly a fantasy.
Yeah.
But I love escapism, guys.
Just play this cute game from 20 years ago to distract yourself from the concentration camps.
Yeah, right.
Anyway.
So I actually got it out of order. This is where Barrett says, Marlene's my daughter, and they have that back and forth.
Yeah, but it's all the same scene.
Yeah, and then Elmira tells him to go upstairs and see Marlene. She's upstairs. So he runs upstairs. You as Cloud will follow them and go talk to Barrett and Marlene. And he says, all right, I mean, I'm going to go rescue Eris. She saved my daughter, brought her here. I now owe her that. We're going to go break her out.
He wants to go and help her because she's helped him so much.
Right, and Cloud agrees. Yeah.
There's also the cute scene.
I love this scene. I'm curious to see what you said.
I feel like you know what I said. I feel like I know what you said. If we're continuing the trend.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I want to hear what you said. So Barrett's hugging Marlene and she says, "Daddy, don't cry." Like, just going back to like the fact that Barrett's this big brash dude, but he's got like, a real soft side and he really loves his daughter. He's like crying a bunch and she says, "Daddy, don't cry. Your whiskers tickle," which is a very cute little detail. Yeah. But then, Barrett puts Marlene down and she goes like, "Oh, hey, Cloud, like
I've been talking to Eris." Yeah.
I've been talking to Eris and she asked me a lot of questions about you.
Yeah, and she says, I bet she likes you, Cloud. And so I said, let's hope so.
Yeah, I figured you did.
Yeah. And if you say, let's hope so, she goes, I won't tell Tifa. And I was like, does that mean, wait a minute,
everyone
are they together?
knows.
Yeah.
We got another precocious little child running around.
Yeah, I know.
Not just 15 years ago era.
So what did you say?
I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been trying to play this just as like how I think Cloud would go through this situation.
Yeah.
And Marlene, this is great. She just says
Stupid.
She said, "Oh, does she say stupid in your version?"
Yeah, my version says stupid.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, in the remaster, for whatever reason, they just say dummy.
Really?
They kept certain words. In there,
I know.
but apparently stupid is not.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we should also point out that Carl and I are playing on the Switch, and Alex is playing on the PS1
computer
version.
machine.
I am paying a PSP. I switched over to Steam, which is pretty much the same thing.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
there's some dialogue thing that I'm open to hearing that there's some interesting switches they made.
So you probably got the "this guy are sick" dialogue.
Yes, they still have IR sick in
Yes.
there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hate that they changed it.
I know. It's like they did it for the it's correct now, but it's so wrong.
I'm flashing back to what's his name? Don Bunghole.
Oh,
Don Bunghole is his,
Don Corneo.
That was his original name in the demo disc. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
Don Corneo. Like, yeah, when they're threatening to say, "I'll rip them off, not rip it off."
Oh,
Right,
nice.
right.
Which is
yeah.
interesting. Like,
So it's a whole
like
package.
who does like the balls are a little too extreme.
We'll just make it the shaft. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. This is-
Yeah.
so I guess dummy is like them. Like, let's bring everything
They're
back
probably like,
one notch.
what's with these like original translators who just made things plural when it was supposed to be singular?
Yeah. Yeah, they couldn't figure it out. They were sitting there like, something that men have two of. No, that's
No,
wrong.
no.
No. So
Anyway.
So the gang decides to go after Eris. Tifa even says like, "Oh, I feel like this is our fault that she was, you know."
She's really broken up about it. Like she's
Yeah.
really taking this all hard.
And Elmira does say, she's like, "No, this is what Eris wanted. She chose to do this. This is not your fault."
Yeah,
Like,
and this kind of shows like the strength not only of like Aerith,
Yeah.
but also Elmira, because like Elmira
Right.
just had her
Daughter
daughter kidnapped.
kidnapped,
And
yeah.
like another detail that I don't think we mentioned is that like when they were like, "Oh my god, like we have to tell you about what happened to Aerith," she's like, "Oh, I know."
right,
Like,
right.
They came here,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Wait, like what does that mean?" And she was like, "She had a little girl with her, and because of that, I guess she couldn't get away fast enough." Like
Right.
Aerith knows how to get away from the Turks. She's been
Right,
doing
right.
it for 15 years.
Yeah.
But because she had Marlene, that's why Tifa feels so responsible too, because she's like, "Aerith, you need to go and save this little girl."
Yeah, right.
But it's great too because like Aerith doesn't take this as like, "Oh, this is Tifa's fault" or "This is Marlene's fault," and Elmira knows that, and also
Yeah, everyone knows.
Elmira's not being resentful.
Right. Yeah. So as they walk out the door, they ask Elmira to take care of Marlene for a little while longer and say, get to somewhere safe.
Yeah.
And they head out back to Wall Market because they don't quite know what to do yet. They're not really sure.
I think Cloud is like, he knows where they're going. He's like, we're going right into Shinra headquarters. Like they're
Right.
taking it to Shinra. And
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
like, we got to be prepared for the worst.
Right. So
There ain't no train that goes up there anymore.
yeah, they do say that. They
Exactly,
say
yeah.
no train goes up there, and Tifa says maybe we'll find something out if we go to Wall Market.
Yeah, exactly.
So we go to Wall Market, and you can run right to where you need to go if you want. There are some little sides that you can do that I think
Yeah.
are pretty funny. If you go back to the Honeybee Inn, there's a guy out front, and
This
he
is very
says, he's like, "Oh, it's you again. I've heard about you. In addition to dressing like a woman, it seems you like to smash and grind things." And I love that smash and grind.
Yeah, I feel like we probably all had the same thing come to our mind when that happened with bump and grind.
Yeah.
Which,
I was just like, ooh. Oh, at first I was thinking Smash Brothers. I was like, I do
oh,
like to
nice.
Smash.
Nice,
I
yeah.
was just
They're
thinking
down
of
to
Hulk.
smash. Okay, so I'm the only one who went with that song, Bump and Grind.
Or Doom,
Which-
I don't know.
which-
Rip and tear, I don't know.
That actually fits the theme of like this whole season because that's also a song that really doesn't age well because R. Kelly's a piece of shit.
Oh, there you go.
And like just
FF7,
yeah, just
it's
look
like
at the lyrics of that song and you're like, oh man, like everything that's come out about that fucking
oh
piece
no,
of
yeah,
shit.
you're right, yeah.
Yeah, so fuck that guy.
Yeah.
If you're listening, R. Kelly, fuck you.
Oh, making enemies.
Leave a 5-star
I was gonna
review.
say, do leave us a 5-star
But
review
you
though, please.
fucking better tell us if it's Aerith or Aerith.
Yeah, you fucking piece of shit. Another one of the Honeybee employees also says, "We only let cultured customers in,
Yeah,
so
I
you
liked
better
that a
leave."
lot.
This is pretty good. And we also
you can
go
talk to a bunch of people just around the slums, and it's basically just flavor text of like
Yeah.
they're all reacting to the
Right.
The kid wanted some junk, I guess, but the old guy who likes tanks took it all away.
yeah. Everyone
Yeah.
keeps talking about that tanky guy.
And before we the tanky,
Yeah,
Did we see the tank yet?
yeah. It's in the
weapon shop.
He's
Okay.
he's always by that.
Oh,
Like, he's on
yeah.
top of it. It's hard to miss, or I mean, it's hard to see
see.
because the low
Yeah.
quality.
Resolution.
Yeah.
Before we get to the
Real
Tank Man,
crunchy.
because we'll talk about him in a second. I did want to very small thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like that there's a guy who's been making stew in Walmart.
Yes!
And
Yeah.
he goes, "Oh, after the plate fell down, all this junk and dust got in my stew. We're gonna have to throw it out." And I was like so invested in his stew story.
Because he kept being like, "Oh, come back later when it's ready" or something.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
forget his exact lines, but I've noticed.
And he
him
says
as-
different things depending on whether you talk to him as Cloud pre or post dressing
yeah.
up too.
Yeah, yeah.
So so I was like really into his story, and I was just like, I'm ready to get this stew. And then the plate comes down. And he's like, "Oh man, the stew's ruined. I have to make a new one.
It's ruined.
It's ruined."
Shinra will pay.
Yeah, that guy.
He's
he delivers the final blow.
Yeah, he's a hidden character. He comes with us at this point.
He's the Deus Ex Machina that we all need at the end of the game.
Right.
Yeah, another kind of funny thing is that there's a woman who's always walking around the slums,
Yeah.
and she's always talking about like looking down because a lot of people drop stuff and they don't even
Yeah,
realize
yeah.
it. And that's like a little tutorial thing, like a vague tutorial to say like, hey, you're not always just going to see like a materia sphere or like a little item bag. Like there are certain things that are invisible items that you just need to hit the confirm button on.
Yeah. Right.
So, but when you talk to her now, she's like, "Oh, I should start looking up." Like,
Yeah,
that was
because the plate
scary.
just fell. Yeah. So we go up to Don Corneo's mansion, and actually, if we take a step inside Don Corneo's mansion, I didn't know this until Alex actually sent me a screenshot of it. So Alex, tell us what happens there.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, so if you go into Cornelia's mansion, I was just snooping around there because it's like, where?
It's
we
an
just
RP it's an RPG. You can,
it's like,
if
so
you
you're
can go
you,
there, go
you,
there.
you basically last time we were there, you fell through a floor. So I was
Yeah.
like, why was in there? So I go in there and like I couldn't. There was no one. It's completely cleared out except if you go into the basement where the little torch chamber you find Koch is on the weird like sacrificial plate thingy.
Did you let him out or let him out?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably more to be done if you just let him go. Cause
Yeah.
like maybe
yeah.
he'll give me some of, so you can leave him there or help
Yeah.
him. It's like.
Another nice thing about
But he tells you, yeah, Shinra guys force themselves in here, saying things like information leaked and good for nothing. They took Don somewhere, and that's it. I'm still here. Oops, they're here again. I'm out of here. See ya.
Yeah, and when he says they're here again, I was like, oh shit, am I
Yeah,
getting
like,
ready to
here
get into
comes
a fight with the...
an
Yeah, and I was
Shinra.
stupid. I'm like, what? There's no one here.
There's
like,
no one here. He might have just said it to like get out of there.
Maybe
like,
he's
oh.
just like,
Yeah.
what's that? Oh, gotta go.
Yeah, right.
Later.
Hopefully, they'll never get in our way again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure they don't come back.
I'm sure they don't. Yeah.
But another nice thing that I really like about Final Fantasy VII is you always get these like binary choices of like you can say one thing or the other,
Yeah.
but it never locks you into that, and you can usually just say both. I think in
Right,
most
right.
cases, like the first time I was like, no, I'm not going to let you go, and he kind of just like begs and pleads more. He's like,
I was
you got
just
to,
following the orders.
yeah,
That's
he's
what
like
he says.
the classic like fascist thing, like, oh, I'm just doing my
Yeah,
job.
right. So if we step out of Don Corneo's mansion, right beside it, there's a little area off to the side, and it might be the first time that we realize that area is there too, because there's not a clear, definitive pathway to it.
Yeah.
but
Some
we
kids,
see
kids lead you there.
we see a bunch of kids running that
And
direction.
they're
right.
excited. They're like, you got to see this.
Yeah. So we follow after the kids, and we see that there is just a big. I don't know, how would you even describe this area? I guess it's.
I think it might be the titular wall. Like it seems like
the
a,
wall
a
of
big
Wall Market?
Like
Yeah, maybe.
So there's a big wall and a giant thing of graffiti, which I really love.
Yeah. It was.
That
What
doesn't say
what is
Eris.
it?
That
It's
says
like
Avril.
Avril Lavigne.
Avril Lavigne.
No. So I think it's supposed to say
Avalanche. That's what I was
but
thinking
another
too.
mistranslation where it says
Yeah.
Avril.
Yeah, Avalanche. Yeah.
Everlev.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking too, though, that it would be Avalanche.
It's so good.
And I think that, like there's a giant thick wire hanging down,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that when we see the cutscene of the plate actually dropping, we see that there's like 3 giant thick wires on each side of the plate that hold it
wow.
up.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think this is one of those wires that
That
was
makes
holding
sense.
the plate up.
yeah.
Just like a cable or something?
Yeah,
They
like a
say
little
wire
cable.
a lot when I was like, hanging from a wire, that doesn't seem real. Like a conduit, a cable may make more sense.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, probably
Wire
so.
sounds so dinky.
Yeah. I mean, it's and here actually when we're seeing it, it is real thin, and in the
It looks like a pipe, though, kind of.
Yeah. Oh wait, speaking of pipe, that reminds me.
that's another penis word.
Yeah, this is great.
Oh.
Okay, that's actually where we're going. Okay.
So I noticed this on like this week that when you open the menu, you can actually see the name of like whatever area you're in, and that can change
Yeah.
from screen to screen.
Yep.
So I've been trying to make note of that, and like right after I noticed that, I went to go and see if the guy who are sick was
Yeah.
any changes or anything. There's not. Everything's fine. But an awesome thing about it is that that like little location where all the trophies are on the wall is called the Earthen Pipe. And it just made me giggle a lot because I have a child's brain, apparently.
No, I love it. That's awesome.
Is your pipe earthen?
Yeah. Well, I knew that it would do that. I knew that was in the menu, but I haven't actually been looking at that. So that's probably something I'll start looking at as we go.
So
I know that. So if you pull up the menu, it shows you where you are. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it'll help us be better at like, wait, what slums were we in?
Yeah, right. Oh God, yeah. Ooh, we're really bad about that.
I got all the floors that we're coming to today.
Yeah, I know. Down. So did I.
We're gonna be great with numbers this week, everyone.
I've got the Final Fantasy wiki pulled up because I lost my notes.
Oh yeah.
So we get a line here that's I feel like one of the most famous Final Fantasy VII lines. Where Cloud said, they basically say like, hey, we could climb up this wire and we'll be up on the top plate and we can go right to the Shinra headquarters building. And Cloud says, there's no way we can climb this. And like, it's such a good line. Barrett says, what do you look at that?
Yes.
What do you see here? And Cloud says, well, it's just a normal wire. And he goes, oh yeah? Well, to me, it looks like a golden shiny wire of hope.
Mm-hmm.
And like a golden shiny wire of hope is such a hilarious thing, and it's something I remember from the first time I played it, where I was just like, "Oh Lord, Barrett."
And then I think Tifa says like, "You're right. This is the only way to save Aerith."
Right.
And Cloud says something incredible, where it's like just a nice little bit of banter. Back and forth. He's like, "Okay, that was a really bad analogy, but like I understand how you feel. Like, we got to do this."
He's got the spirit.
Right.
Another great little like line from it is that the kid keeps calling like the plate and like the people who live up there, like he keeps calling it the upper world. And because my brain works in the stupid way that it does, every time I hear that, I just think of Prince and the song Let's Go Crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
He's here to tell you there's something else. The upper world, a world of never-ending happiness.
Yeah.
You can always see the sun day or night. I'm like, shit. He's singing about this.
So now we can go ahead and try to climb this at this point. But one thing that if you're playing along with us, you should know is that when you go up it, there will be little ports that you could put a battery in. And at this point, we don't have any batteries. But like we were talking about earlier, there's the Tank Man in Wall Market. And after the plate crashed, he collected a bunch of junk. And one of the things he's been collecting are these batteries.
Yeah.
So we can go to him and talk to him about getting the batteries. And he sells them to us for $100 each, right?
Yep.
So,
and it does actually take 300 gil out of your thing.
Does it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because he just says like, "Oh, you can have them," and if you like call his bluff and you say like, "No, I don't believe you," he's like, "Okay, you'll find out when you get there." But like, it also kind of shows that this dude's sort of a piece of shit. Like he's kind of just like a disaster capitalist, where he's like, "Oh, you know what?
Yeah,
there's these like I'm assuming he just salvaged those batteries from there." Like, I mean, they probably fell down, but he was also like, "Oh, this is needed for this ridiculous puzzle to get."
I'm going to buy it and make sure somebody else pays me.
Yeah, I'm going to find it and then charge someone for it.
So does that imply he climbed up there and just stole the batteries?
I think.
And now,
yeah, that's what I was
already
thinking.
Done this
I was thinking, like he would have to, because I mean, like, why else would you be like, "Oh, someone's gonna," like, it's just a bunch of fucking rubble. Like, why would anyone think?
Well, at very least, he or someone has gone far up enough to know that they're there.
He knows, or he knew, like maybe he had worked up there and he's like, "Oh, these batteries run all of that equipment up there.
Yeah.
So if you want to get up there,
right.
These are mine now because they were there and now I found them." I think Cloud even like kind of calls him out about that.
He does, yeah.
He's like, "You're gonna sell me something that you just found?"
Yeah, he does say that. Yep. Yeah. But either way, you got to buy them. So you buy them, and we start climbing up the pipe.
We get ourselves another classic Final Fantasy VII little mini game.
We also get some good No Mercy graffiti.
Oh my god, yeah, and it looks like it has the Spitfire logo.
It does. It's the Spitfire logo in the O of the no.
Yeah, and then there's another...
Boy looks like there's something on the side.
Oh yeah, boy or bone or something.
Yeah. Like, there's some good graffiti.
Some top-notch graffiti. Avalanche, Avril Lavigne.
I was half expecting the Snake Eater music to kick in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As you're climbing in it.
I feel like that'll happen later when there's another thing of climbing in this.
Yeah, good lord.
We'll get to that in a little
bit.
But another interesting little piece of dialogue, which at the house where you got the turbo ether from the little boy.
Yeah.
You can actually talk to his dad, who's that guy who's like, "Oh, I hate the Shinra, but like Avalanche is bad too." Like,
yeah.
You know, if you punch someone from Shinra, then you're just as bad as Shinra. Again,
fucking centrist.
If only we had any kind of analogies. But anyway, so he's saying like, "Oh, I can't believe Avalanche did this." So like I made a point in my notes where I was like, oh shit, so like Shinra's propaganda is already working because their whole thing was like, we're going to bring down the plate and we're going to blame Avalanche. We're going to kill two birds with one stone. But
because like yesterday, like there was another explosion already happened.
So, exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
So, but when you're climbing up, there's the other two kids who were brave enough to climb up there. They see all the wreckage and stuff, and the one kid's like, "Oh my god, this is horrible."
Yeah.
And the other kid says, "Hey, scary, huh? Dad told me this is the Shinra's doing."
Ooh.
So there's
at
it's
least
not just as black and white as like, oh, like evil villains getting away with it.
Yeah,
Like,
and they do seem to be like the people in the slums are obviously distrustful of Shinra. Like no one, even that one guy, like doesn't outright like them. Like he's already predisposed to be against Shinra.
President Shinra ran on a campaign of saying that he was going to bring Mako jobs back to the slums, and then he fucking didn't. He just hired a bunch of fucking robo
guards,
techno
soldiers
to run the equipment and left them high and dry.
So we start climbing. We get to these little mini games. One is I like that you put a battery in and a propeller turns
forever.
It turns forever, and it looks like it's getting ready to just like pop off. It's like, oh, it's starting up. Here it comes. And then it just sputters out and just freezes. But luckily, it freezes in a place where
in the perfect spot.
Yeah, I thought you were supposed to walk by the because there's one propeller that isn't there. So like, oh, it's supposed to kind of create a little turn sign. You're supposed to walk by. No, it's just making a bridge. So you're supposed to walk on the propeller.
I know, and it doesn't look like that's where you jump on the bridge either.
Yeah,
this is another one of those areas where the perspective is completely.
It is
like it looks really
bad.
cool, but platforming on it is like this game's strong suit is not platforming.
Right,
so like,
right.
The geometry is weird and not in like a cool Lovecraftian House of Leaves kind of way. It's just like, where the fuck am I going? I know where.
Speaking of platforming, you have to jump on this wire that's swinging, right? And
it's like Pitfall.
It's like Pitfall. You jump on the swinging rope and go over the gap. Now this time I played it, I was all right. I think I kind of knew what to do. But in the past, I've had so much goddamn trouble.
So I think I know why you had trouble. Because I got it, like, again, I'm a god gamer, because I got it first try. I'm just kidding. But, I got it the first try, but it's because I, like, tried to fail at it, because Cloud says, like, looks like the only way is to jump onto that bar. Should make it if I jump before it comes too close. Press A to jump. But...
you jump when it's like
like touching the wall that you're on.
Yeah. You want it all the way close first.
So I don't know if this is another mistranslation thing. Was it the same dialogue for you, Alex? Or
let's see. Looks like the only edge on the bar should make it before it comes too close. Yep, no, it's the same thing.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's just a weird localization thing. Where
it could be.
For me, I learned if you wait right after you hear the little squeaky noise, that's the kind of the sweet spot.
Sounds like an audio engineer over here waiting for audio cues instead of visual.
I mean, it's like Dark Souls, right? You're waiting for the right.
Absolutely. How am I not the first one to bring up Dark Souls on this podcast? Holy shit.
Just so everybody knows, I've been taking my notes both in writing and in taking pictures on the Switch, taking screenshots, and the only non-Final Fantasy VII screenshot I have is me in Dark Souls reaching level 69 and having an attack of 420. the only other picture I have.
That's the Miyazaki said that's the most powerful build in all of Dark Souls.
Right, yeah. Which is Dex build,
but you know what?
And that he will give you a high five if you show him that screenshot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Hooray.
I said the thing that like really killed me is when you miss it, Cloud does a different trajectory of jump. Like when he tries to just jump, like when you actually get it, he kind of just falls right down onto it. He hardly has any like
just
arc. There's no
soldier
arc
instincts.
Right. So like, but when you miss it, he does this big arc, and so I was like, okay, I need to see where the arc is when it passes the thing, and that's entirely wrong because that's not even how he jumps to the wire when you
It looks like he just slides on.
Yeah, exactly. It's another attack while its tail is up.
It is, yeah.
And that's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's another one of those things, which is pretty funny.
But there's really nothing else, I think, to think about this area. We just kind of climb up the rest of it.
Yeah, you can get an ether.
Yeah, you can get an ether by placing an additional battery.
But then the next thing that happens is a pretty iconic scene.
It is. We see the Shinra headquarters. We're up in front of it now.
And we see the helicopter coming in.
Yep. We see the helicopter
coming in. So we know
that
that's where Aerith is.
Yep.
This might be a good time to take a pause.
You want to?
If you want to.
All right.
Let's take a bathroom break.
All right.
And we'll put a little tune in here. Alex, put a tune in here.
All right. And we're back.
All right. Fantastic.
Cool. So now we're at that iconic scene with the Shinra building and everyone standing outside of it. And I think this is the part that they used for the album artwork, Jesus Christ, the artwork on the front of the game.
Yeah. It's not the same angle.
Yeah, it's a different angle. Like Cloud, Barrett, and Tifa are all here, but Antifa is also here.
Antifa is also here.
Antifa is here.
Antifa is here.
I mean, they're technically Antifa. Let's get real.
All right.
This is our July 4th episode.
It does look like a giant Dyson vacuum, though.
What
is there's like a meat company that has the same logo as Shinra.
Oh shit.
And I can't think of what it is.
Well, we got to stop them.
Yeah. We have to stop that company. It's two names. It's like Hertz Denzel or something like that. And
Hertz Donut?
Hertz Donut. Yeah. But anyway, so we're in front of the Shinra building, and this is kind of like an iconic scene. Cloud has his sword on his back now. You actually see it.
Yeah.
And his right hand is holding it, right? And so while he runs, he has that hand up on the handle of the sword.
I actually
How's he not faceplant?
Yeah, he's very strong. He's got a lot of upper body.
I guess the Buster Sword's kind of a counterweight. But.
Yeah, that's true.
I assume that it's like at this point it's kind of still strapped in.
Yeah, it sucks to hold things like that. I tried to replicate this scene when I played a show in what the fuck? It was at Music Fest, and I forget what part of the But there's the giant still works thing, and I looked at it and it was all lit up for the festival and stuff. And it's just purple, and I was like, I need to get a picture of me holding my bass from the stage that I'm playing on. And I was holding it, I was like, wow, this fucking sucks.
Yeah. I guess all the weight of it would be on the other end, right?
Yeah.
So God.
Yeah. So I don't know how Cloud does it.
He's got those big Popeye forearms, man. You can see them right there.
He's got them Mako eyes.
He's got the Mako eyes. So we run up to the building. And they start kind of explaining the layout of the building together.
There's that great statue that looks like it's from Beetlejuice right there. You know, that
wait, how did you guys get into
the bottom left corner?
Yeah.
Yes. I can't,
that.
I can't tell what that is.
It looks like a little dude doing kind of
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know,
there's this little red statue in the bottom left corner for the listeners, and it kind of does look like a little cylinder man doing a little dance.
Yeah, or it looks like some of that weird those art sculptures that are just around cities every once in a while.
That's kind of what I thought, but
unless it's an unanimated one of those flailing tube.
Oh,
it looks
that's what it is.
It kind of looks like
100% what it is. They're trying to bring in more business by having a fun little.
So what were you getting ready to ask?
Oh no, I was. We should probably talk about the dialogue here.
Yeah.
I mean,
they explain that every floor above the 60th is special and not easy to get to, even for employees. So that's the actual dialogue.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to get to that floor, and
right. And so you have you're given two options. You can either barge in and just go ham and start fighting everybody.
Busting in.
That's what Barrett wants to do.
That's what Barrett's
wants
to do.
He wants
and
to
Tifa says, "No, wait, hold on. Let's be smart about this. Let's look for another way in." And so you can either bust in or look for another way in. So did anybody bust in?
Oh, I did.
Did you?
I absolutely.
All right.
Did,
Well, tell us what happens because I have no idea.
I did both.
It's pretty bland. I like the other option better because of how fucking hilarious it is. But yeah, you bust in. I don't know if that affects anything. The fact that you didn't agree with Tifa or whatever, but
Bond and whatever.
The receptionist is like, "Hey, you don't have an appointment," and Barrett says, "I don't need no appointment. This is an emergency." And anyone who doesn't want to get their face bashed in better get out of here. So then everyone just starts panicking and running away, and then a bunch of soldiers just come and try and take you down.
You have a couple battles, I guess.
Someone says "Oh, do you think they're Avalanche?" And one of the guys says, "Intruders, seize them!" Which I always love a good "seize them" because it's just such a fucking ridiculous.
I'm sure over the course of doing every Final Fantasy, we'll get
quite a few.
We do get a
seize
counter
thems.
on the website, just how many seize thems we've gotten thus far.
And then it's just two guys, I think, two soldiers, and their name is Grenade Combatant.
I love them.
So yeah, I mean, pretty easy fight.
Starship Troopery guys.
Yeah. I actually have a screenshot here of that fight where Barrett's about to use his limit break, and this is something that I don't think I've ever noticed. But I think Barrett invented the dab. Because before he cast magic, he fucking dabs. He dabs hard.
You're gonna have to send me a
I'll show you. I'll show you my...
Oh my god.
He's one, right? And I had to look into it. I'm like, did dabbing exist in some form
before FF7?
And the furthest back I could find was like 2008. Like apparently
Barrett
Migos
dabbed
started
before
it,
everybody
so
else.
I think Barrett invented dabbing.
That's incredible. So everybody who's dabbing is really just getting ready to use materia.
Yeah, or their limit break.
I
can't wait to get Barrett's final limit where he does the floss dance.
If you go back to June 26th, we did actually retweet a video of him dabbing.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
So you didn't hear it here first, I guess.
Yeah. You heard it retweeted here first.
Yeah. So I mean, you beat those guys, and then Barrett's like, "Oh, let's go to the top. You can't use the elevator yet." And Cloud's like, "Oh, we got to find another way up, I guess." And there's another funny scene of all the people who like tried evacuating from the tower are just like huddled in the back, and when you go closer to them, they all scramble and run away,
really?
and you can kind of chase them around for a little bit.
That's hilarious. Oh, I wish I would have done that.
Yeah, and then you can go to like the item store down there. There's 2 chests there that are annoyingly not available right now.
Oh, okay.
So it's like my brain was like, oh, I got to figure out how to get into this and stuff.
Yeah.
But you can't get them right now. So
I didn't see those.
Yeah. And there's just some more little dialogue of like a guy and his girlfriend. She's like, "Oh, baby, buy me this expensive car that is on a TV screen there." And he's like, "No."
okay.
And then they're like, "Oh shit, Avalanche is here!" And they like they also scramble.
Is the expensive car a pickup truck?
That would be pretty cool. I don't know. It's really low quality. It's hard to tell.
Okay, just because we'll get to a pickup truck eventually, but yeah. Oh, really?
A little bit. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
So the other option you have. Or is that it for busting?
Yeah, I mean, like you can talk to the item shop lady, and there's a little bit of like more character building. About
How do you actually get to the 60th floor?
So if you bust in,
this is still on the first floor though.
Yeah.
So when you bust in, you go up to the 3rd floor, technically just by the stairs, and there's another elevator, and they have kind of like a mini boss kind of rush thing where you're on an elevator.
Right.
So you're fighting enemies all the way up.
Okay.
And there's
you're basically stopping the elevator, a door opens, and you fight kind of you have a boss until you basically get to the 59th floor.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it starts going through like everything's just cycling, and there's an alarm going off, and you have to stop it, and it stops at a random number, and some of the numbers give you just a random encounter, or some of them gives you a Shinra guy who's just like, "Oh, sorry, I'll get the next one." Like,
okay, all right.
And it's funny, I think I got 2 of those in a row. And
really?
It was like floor 37 and then floor 39. And it was the same guy. Like he was like, "Oh, you again? Oh, no, I'm going to take it." And I was like, dude, that dude just hoofed it up.
Yeah,
like
he is going
9
quick.
floors.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So yeah, and if you don't bust in, there's another way you can get up there, which
to me is the canon way to get.
Oh, yeah. No, it's 100% the canon way.
Yes.
To the point where I went all the way back down to try and do that and get all the dialogue options.
Do you actually get the dialogue?
No, you can still do it, but just with no benefit. Like,
so what happens is
there a calf stat? There really should be.
Oh man, if this was Morrowind, then you would have your run maxed out by the end of it. To the left of the entrance, when Tifa suggests we find another way in, there is an alley, and we can take that alley to a side set of stairs. So it's like the emergency escape, I guess, for the Shinra building.
Utility access kind of thing?
Yeah. The fire escape.
And
the fire route.
Man, they make you walk up every flight of stairs to actually get to floor 59. Like, no joke. Like, you will sit there and do all of them, and it takes a minute. Yep. Mm-hmm. It takes some time. So I switched to the I'm playing on Switch, so I switched to the analog joystick because I was like, I'm not doing. Yeah, exactly. Yep. I was like, man, my thumbs are gonna be sore by the end of this one.
That is 531 steps.
Jeez. Yeah,
that's nice.
I know. That
I counted like, okay, it's 9 steps per floor, and then I think there's like
I counted like 14 like staircases in each screen, and I think you go up like 5 or 6 screens or something. It's nuts.
Okay, so I measured one direction. So assume that was one floor.
Yeah,
and just multiplied that by 59.
Yeah.
Which might come to the same number. Who knows?
Yeah. It's too many stairs.
There's a neat little, like, it's not really a glitch, I think, but there's like a neat little thing that happens in this that you can, like, Cloud runs a little faster than Barrett and Tifa. And we should say that, like, during this scene, all of your party members are on screen at once doing the runaround because they're actually having, like, dialogue with each other. Normally, when you walk around, you just see Cloud.
Yeah, everyone, like, walks into Cloud and then it's just Cloud.
Right. So you actually see everybody running up the stairs. And there was a neat little thing I saw that if you run fast enough to pass them all up and you actually get to the top of the stairs before them, as soon as you begin the screen transition, they start running backwards and start running back downstairs, which I thought was interesting. Again,
it doesn't.
It's just like a little glitch.
Yeah.
It doesn't amount to anything, but I just thought it was neat.
That's
that
really cool.
It's like so every time I do it, I'm like, yeah, give up. I am the fastest.
I'm the ex-soldier here.
Yeah. So they just run back downstairs. You get a lot of hilarious back and forth in this scene where they're talking to each other. Barrett's being a goof, and Tifa's kind of trying to keep it straight-laced, conserve energy. And a lot of times when they walk up a certain amount of steps, they'll stop independently and just kind of like hold their knees and bend over and be.
Why the hell?
Yeah,
to climb.
Yeah, I know. There's a scene at which Barrett kind of just says ha 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 like creepily. And I forget if it's Tifa or Cloud says it, but one of them's like, okay, that's creepy. Please don't do that. And then he says to Cloud, so I guess even you will fight for somebody else. I guess I was wrong.
Yeah.
And so, so he is still in prey, like...
Who cares, man?
Yeah.
And then Tifa's like, heh.
Yeah, and then she goes, heh. Yeah. So they're all kind of
What's that supposed to mean?
Yeah, so they're all having a good time.
I think that is dialogue that happens later if you don't do that too, because I also got that dialogue in my play when we're on a different floor.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
cool.
I like the back and forth between like Barrett and Tifa and all of that.
Yeah. Barrett asks at one point, he says, do you think this is one of those endless stairways?
I love that.
I love that line. Where he's got like a real imagination, like kind of going along with what we've seen of Barrett thus far. He's like ruled by emotions and passions. Like that's his thing, is just charging in. And so he's just like, oh my God, do you think this is one of those endless staircases? And like has an amount of sincerity, I think, in saying it, that he's like actually like, oh God.
He had nightmares from the Super Mario 64.
Yeah,
Bowser's
the
Castle.
Bowser's Stair one. Yeah.
That came out a year before, so
it's and Texas exists in this world, so
at a certain point,
does Texas have a lot of endless stairways?
Probably. I've never been there.
There's a scene. There's a like obligatory anime scene where Tifa runs ahead of everybody, and then there's some anime misunderstanding where like, oh God, they're gonna look up my skirt or whatever. You guys go
that's
first.
pretty good.
And of course, I was like, Japan.
Yeah.
Japan. Always doing that. So.
They had to do it to him.
You hate to see it.
I think this is the other instance of...
Yeah, so I wanted to get all of the other texts out of the way before we got here. So Barrett is... another good thing that Barrett says is he says, why do they have to build buildings so tall? That's another line I like. But yeah, so at a certain point, Barrett he's winded, he's acting like a goof, he's just saying all kinds of silly stuff. And he just like starts jokingly monologuing to Marlene, like as though he's like, kind of like, here's what I would say to Marlene. And he goes, oh, Marlene, I'm so sorry. Daddy wanted to see your face again. Too bad he never got to, because he's so winded. And then Tifa, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, I don't have the dialogue in front of me, but
I do.
Would you just stop acting like a ravioli?
Yeah.
R-word.
Yeah.
So they use the R word again. I'm gonna, we can chalk it up to localization. They probably said they probably said baka in.
Yeah. I actually like the idea that like from now on, if we run into any more, we'll just use the word ravioli.
Yeah.
So she tells them to stop acting like a ravioli and go ahead and keep climbing.
Yeah.
It's just a bit more, maybe.
Which is so
it's just a bit more, maybe.
And it's just so funny that for on the Switch version, they changed stupid to dummy.
But they kept the R-bomb, yeah.
Yeah, like, whatever.
Yep. So, we bust out onto floor 59. And there's some Shinra guards on this floor. And I noticed that if you don't go talk to the Shinra guards, but you go to the elevators, Barrett says, oh, we come this far, and you're already thinking about going back down to the first floor.
Yep.
So I guess you can just go back down to the first floor if you want.
So I did that because I was like, I want to get all the dialogue from the ridiculous stair climb.
Yeah.
And I tried to go down, and then you say like, yep, we're going back down. And then he says like, no, there's no time for that.
Oh, really?
I was like, oh shit, so I can't go back down. That kind of sucks.
They keep you from doing it.
And then I tried a different elevator. I think you can just do it again. And he says the same exact thing, I'm pretty sure. And then you just go into the elevator anyway. So I ran up all the stairs, didn't get any of the fun interactions between them. And then whatever stupid item you get at the top of it.
So here's a question.
Funny. Yeah.
Do floors 1 through 58 have a fire exit?
I think that's the fire exit.
No, but like...
No, yeah, there's only like a door at the very top.
1 through 58. There's only one at the bottom and one at the top, which means there's no access. There's no access to
Okay, so here's my thought. I think that This is how I kind of interpreted it in my brain.
Everyone below 59 is not worth it.
No.
I mean, that's how Shinra.
Yeah, that
puts it,
does seem to
It's like
be
we
the
can
way
only
they
afford
are.
one.
There's a line of
two
text later.
doors.
The way I thought of it is that the only reason the top one is open is because that's the one that we're going to use because it just happened to be the top one. And if they could have kept going all the way to the president's office, then they would have. But there's probably like a door that we just can't see because of our profile view of the stairs. That's how I interpret it. That doesn't mean that that's actually how it is. Actually, I have pictures here, and it does not look like there are. Well, no, there's little lights.
You can see the walls a little bit.
Yeah, and those little lights, I think those are above. Those are about door height. I would
because there are some. There's some. When you go up, the perspective changes a little bit. And you can see the walls. There's no doors on the other walls.
Interesting. Well, all right. Well, everybody below, if there's a case of fire, they're fucked.
I mean, there's a part on one of the floors where one of the NPCs is like, it's like, oh, I kind of hear a commotion going on down there. What do you think's going on? And the other one's like, fuck it, who cares? Like, everything on this above the 60th floor is safe.
And then, and that's actually something they talk about on the 60th, right?
It's either the 60th or it might be like the lounge area. But anyway,
actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we don't come out to the 59th. We come out on the 58th floor, don't we?
Let me see. I think it's the 59th.
Because these,
or it might be you're on the 58th and you take it to the 59th.
I think you take it to because the 59th is the one where the little mini game happens.
Actually, no. I have here when you're on the mini game with the door opening and it either being a Shinra guy or a random encounter. It actually lands on 59.
Really?
And so there are other elevator floors as well.
Elevator floors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Although in Crisis Core you can access 49.
Oh, really?
I'm just looking at the wiki right here.
I was like, whoa. I forgot that you haven't played a Final Fantasy game before. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Is that one good?
Yeah.
Leave us a 5-star review and tell us what you think of Crisis Core.
Yeah. But don't say what happens in Crisis Core. Alex hasn't played any of all of 7
I
yet.
haven't played Crisis Core either.
Well, I know. I can spoil it for us, but we don't want to spoil 7
True.
for Alex.
Oh, yeah.
Floor 59, a mundane open area that has 2 sets of elevators, one leading back down to the bottom floors, the other that allows access to the higher floors and access to the stairway.
Well, here's my question, right? Because if this is 59, isn't the next floor up the one where we have to play the minigame?
Yeah, so floor 60 is...
I thought 60 was the lunchroom. Is
floor
it not?
60 is the kind of Metal Gear Solid sneaking between statues.
I must
section.
have all of my floors one off, I think is what I did.
It's tricky, too, because it's like you're going up to the... I did the same thing with later on where you get to like the final floor, where it's like, oh, this person goes up to this floor because on the wall it says like 65.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, wait, he went up to the next floor.
59 is kind of a buffer between kind of the upper class and lower class scene because you get the key card. When you fight the soldiers guarding the...
Right.
So, I don't know if we got to that point yet. At 59.
Yeah, at 59 we fight the Shinra guards.
They say destroy the intruders, and then you have little 3 guys.
Do you guys remember earlier when I was like, I took good notes this time. I have everything written down. We won't get screwed up by numbers this time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Apparently we're just really bad at math.
It was me.
So, are these guys?
No, I did the same thing.
Are these guys that attack you human? Because when you fight them, they're these...
Oh, these like zombified.
I think they're like the armored soldiers, right? Where
they are the
mighty grunts.
Mighty grunt. They have 2 forms.
They're the weakest Halo enemy.
They start with these kind of red power suit looking dudes, and then they turn into skater bros.
I think the way you do that is by hitting.
They got like rollerblades.
Yeah, rollerblades.
You hit them with bolt, right? And that's how they. That's how they change into their other form.
I think you can. I just attacked them
because I attacked some and just killed them outright.
Yeah, it depends on it actually depends on the damage. Because at first I was like, oh, you have to. I thought it was like a 2-phase kind of boss where it's like
Hell House where you get to a certain level. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, I noticed.
That's what I was thinking.
If you
and then
overshoot it, you just go straight to defeat it. I think.
Yeah, I noticed another thing with Hell House too, where like I was able to. I think I only used magic attacks or something, and it didn't transform into the skeleton that we all know and love. Yeah.
Oh shit!
So it's one of those things where you can deal the max damage and it kills them outright, but if you deal, I guess, a certain percentage of it, then it,
Okay.
Anyway,
they turn into roller boys.
Yeah, so we get the key card from them that allows us up to the next floor.
Floor 60.
Yep, which is a little mini game that the first time I played it, I had difficulty with, and never again.
Yeah,
I just let myself. If you fail 3 times, you just kind of bypass it.
Really,
I was kind of like, all right, I'm just not doing this because.
Is it 3 or 5?
I guess it depends on maybe.
I failed it a lot, so I also
maybe if you fail each one area 3 times, maybe because there's 2 segments to this. So you're trying to sneak by these guys who are walking back and forth by sneaking from like this statue bust But and then after that, there's
statue
guys that are
busts.
So then on the other side of the room, there's the same thing, but now the guys are kind of running, which means you kind of have to play with the run button a little bit.
You got to time it a little differently. Yeah,
and it's a little trickier.
Yeah.
But I think I failed the first half like 3 times, and then I just kind of skipped it.
I was so cocky about it too because I got past the first part and I was like, oh yeah, this is really easy. Like,
and
this
then you have
nothing.
to call your team members.
But
as well.
I was writing that I had it like, oh, this is super easy because I put it on like 3 times mode, and I was like, oh, I can even do this with like the increased timing. That's super easy. And then I forgot that was on, and I hit the stick and just ran directly into the line of sight, and then I just couldn't beat it. And I was like, oh man, this is gonna sink so much.
You have to have a little bit of patience to be
Yeah.
able to deal with it well. Yeah.
Yeah, so you get to the center, then you call over your Tifa and Barrett, and you do that again. I think it's funny that they're walking between golden statue busts, which is a very Shinra thing. They're probably like old
like the board of
executives or
directors,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So we get past this little Metal Gear Solid sneaking
This
minigame.
is the second Metal Gear Solid of probably like three, I think, during this.
Oh, another
chapter.
cool thing. There's a weird screen that's just, I think, like a one-time throwaway screen where like you go up the elevator and there's this cute little cutscene of a Shinra guard sleeping.
I was getting ready to
desk.
talk about that one. I can't. Did I put that on Instagram or Twitter? I can't remember. I was thinking about posting it and being like, "Hey, here's me at my actual job."
Just Photoshop a Switch playing Final Fantasy.
Yeah. So there's a Shinra guard sleeping. Yeah.
But yeah, and then you get to like there's a shot of just the elevators and like the big floor 60 thing, and it's like from a perspective that we don't usually see, and it's just this one screen that once you leave it, like you don't get back to it. There's nothing there. It's not. It's just a weird like thinking about it as how it.
Yeah, it's just like a way to combine this little cutscene, this little FMV into the elevator door opening.
Which is it's pretty advanced thinking about like how this is from PlayStation.
Yeah.
So that was
especially since it's their first 3D outing, Final Fantasy. Yeah. But yeah, so we get to the 61st floor.
This is 61, the lounge.
Yeah. So
no one cares that there are guys dressed as military walking
there's
around the
dudes
lounge.
with their weapons out, walking around in the lounge,
and they keep talking about how safe it is, and they're like, oh, like.
Well, you know what? You know what's funny is like as I was walking around the lounge, like at first it could be a little bit jarring of like, oh man, these people like do not care that there's armed people running around, and then I thought like, how much do I really love my job?
Oh yeah,
I'd probably be like, you know what, whatever. They've come here to fight the CEO. It's fine.
Yeah,
let them do it.
More power to him, man.
Don't take the Keurig machine. I make hot chocolate in the winter and coffee in the summer. Just leave me alone. And they kind of have that attitude about it.
Yeah.
One guy asks you, he's like, "Oh, hey, who are you? You're suspicious looking." And you can either say like, "Where's Eris?" or ... And if you say, "Where's Eris?" Yeah, where's she? If you ask where's Eris, he goes, "Oh, you mean the new desk girl, the girl downstairs at the desk." Oh, wait a minute. He's like, "Are you a rival?" I guess he likes her or whatever.
He's like romantic rival. The anime thickens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the new girl.
Yeah. And if you don't say anything to him, he gives you he thinks that you're in a repair group, that you've come to repair
the
things.
Shinra Inc. repair division.
Yeah.
Everything at this place, even like the handymen around it, are militarized. Where it's like you're the repair division.
Right. And that will give us the next key card because he thinks that we need it. Before we go to the next floor, is there anything else you want to say? There's some other people walking around.
Yeah, I think it's all just kind of meaningless dialogue.
There's a girl who's like, "Hey, you're cute. Do you want me to teach you some things?" And kind of tells you about
Oh yeah,
things.
do you want to? I'll teach you some.
She's teaching about elevators though.
Yeah.
Just more.
Yeah, she's like, here's how you get to the next floor. It's like,
right.
Yeah, you can be a helpful like coworker, but also like, hey,
I'm on the 61st floor. How do you think I don't know how to use an elevator?
Yeah.
Like HR already briefed me on this. I know how the key card system works.
Right. Yeah. And so we get to the next floor, and the next floor is another little mini game. Which is going to be like opening doors, I guess.
No, this is the mayor's.
So this is the mayor's office, which is an even more
library.
That's because I got the numbers wrong again on my notes.
Okay.
I have everything. I just need to add one to every floor in my mind.
This is
mayor's office.
So
Domino's.
This is Domino's. This is the mayor's office and like library.
It's kind of the archives.
Yeah,
archives. That's the word.
He kind of goes into it a little bit where he's like, oh no, I'm actually like the mayor in name only. Like he's a glorified librarian. Like
he does
his
say
job.
that, yeah.
He's like Shinra runs everything. Like my position is like a fake one. They just have me watching all of their documents.
Right.
He's a librarian, I think, as we compared himself to.
Yeah.
And we talked about this in the first episode, that Shinra is both a government and a company. And this is kind of like the proof of that like, here's a guy who's actually part of a government saying like, oh yeah, I'm the mayor of the city, but I don't actually do anything. It's the company Shinra that runs everything. Yeah. Like, they just have me watch these documents.
Yeah, which...
me, the mayor, a librarian. Oh, that's something he says.
Yeah.
That's so good. So, did you guys do the minigame, like...
I cheated.
Oh, I cheated so hard with this.
Is the password the same every time?
No.
Because the first time I played
if you're
through,
not on a Japanese or English one, it is. How about that?
So I played through once and I just guessed like Mako, and then I was like, yes, that was it.
Oh, was it really?
That's like a 25% chance.
I got lucky, so I guess.
Mine was
every
bomb.
playthrough was like, and then this time I play through his best. But how do you figure this out? I haven't
So
figured it
it's
out.
really convoluted. Do you want me to explain it? Or
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's 3 bookshelves in each section of this. Like there's like 4 different rooms that have different colors, and they have writing on the outside that says like what department it is or whatever. Yeah. And there's 3 bookshelves and 2 books on each shelf, and you have to go through all of them, I think, and find out which one is in the wrong spot.
Right.
So there's like some that it's like, oh, this is the military division, and it's talking about like growing plants or something. I don't know the specific.
And
examples.
there's numbers at the beginning of each book as well. And so that number, if you go to that letter within that book, it'll spell it out as you go to each room.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like 1 is A, like 16 is whatever that is. Like
Right. And so the thing is online, there's somebody charted it out where they're like, look, just go look at this book. If it's this one, it's this password. If it's this one, it's this password. Instead of playing the whole game.
Like you would
So
have
that's
to
what I did.
pretty much like write a flow chart for this.
Yeah, minigame that doesn't really matter that much. Although
I just guessed it until
the prize you get is actually
It's really good. Yeah.
is half decent. Yeah.
So I mean, there's several options. I think there's like 8 or something. There's
you
only
want
4
4.
correct.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like bomb, Mako,
best or king.
best
I
or
think.
king. Yeah, and then there's other ones. One is orbs, which is
Yeah,
really funny.
Orbs.
So
SGDQ just ended last week, so we're all still
we're
on
hot off
orb
the hill
mode.
of the orbs.
Yeah. Which, man, what an SGDQ.
Woo!
Oh, Lord.
Tune in next week when we just talk about SGDQ.
All week. Oh, man, did you see the Poexel closer?
Oh, God, it was so good.
So good. Dude, he's such a good runner.
He's incredible.
But anyway, so real quick, I'd just like to point out, I think I pointed out in the first episode, or maybe I did. Maybe we saved
episode.
it. Was it last episode? The name of the mayor is Domino, like Dominoes. Mm-hmm. And in this, his assistant's name is Hart.
Yep.
H-A-R-T. But the thing is that, like, in Japanese, it's Hato, which could be hut, like
hut.
H-U-T. So, like, Pizza Hut, and Midgar's built on a pizza.
Pizza the Hut. It's a Spaceballs reference this time.
Spaceballs. That's
They should have just called him Noid.
Yeah, yeah. And we do avoid him because he has nothing to say.
Yeah.
Really.
Except try to extort you for clues if you like.
Yeah, that's true.
Wait, real quick. Do you guys know why they stopped doing the Noid thing?
Yes, for the tragedy of Mr. Noid.
Yes.
Just look it up.
Yeah.
I'll
The
look it
Noid
up.
shooting.
Yeah. There was a guy whose last name was Noid, and he had some mental health problems, and he thought
Get
that it was
the
a target.
fuck out.
So he like held up a Domino's, and then
Oh my god.
yeah, it's
okay.
really depressing. Anyway,
Yeah,
back to video games.
So, so
What
if
this
you get
tells
it
you is
right,
Domino's is not the enemy.
yeah,
this
yeah.
episode has to be called "Avoid the Noid." So anyway, yeah,
yeah.
You
so
can
if
go
you
down
get
the
it-
list and just guess, or it incentivizes guessing it right on the first try because you get a really good support material.
You get a elemental materials, and what that does is it adds an element to either your weapon or your armor. And you can use that if an enemy is using like water magic and you have a water materia. You can put elemental on there and it'll either half the damage, nullify the damage, or absorb it depending on how leveled up elemental materia is. And you can do the same with your weapon, which I guess scales kind of along like a bolt 1, bolt 2, bolt 3 or something like that. Depending on how good it is.
Or I think the way it works is it just like deals that damage and there's a higher percentage of like what kind of damage it does or something. I'm not sure.
I was gonna say one last thing before we leave. the mayor's office, is he asks you, he says, I bet you're wondering why I'm helping you out and playing this game with you. And he says, revenge, of course. Shinra's been torturing me forever.
Yeah.
And so he just wants you to fucking give him hell. He's ready for you to do it.
Yeah, he's like, sorry I was like a little tough on you, but like they've been torturing me for years and I want you to really give it to them.
Yeah.
They're killing print media.
So I was also trying to I was like, this is the most video gamey shit in the world. Like there's a lot of that happening in this particular section, but I was like, why the fuck would this be like a code or anything? But the fact that it's like this mayor who has literally no power, he's supposed to be a powerful figure, and he's just like watching documents. Like, of course, to get by his day without going insane, he's like,
just fucking around with those documents.
Yeah, like I'm gonna fuck up with these documents and see if anyone ever comes along and needs to guess my little code because I'm stuck here.
I have nothing else to do, just boiling in rage about Shinra.
I'm on the safe part of the building that no eco-terrorists are ever going to get to.
Yeah. So he's been plotting this for a while, so he helps you out.
Yeah.
So in addition to the elemental materia, we get the card key for the next floor.
Yep.
And since all my floors are incorrect,
floor 63.
This is the door mini game.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
storage area.
This floor is just a floor with like 20 doors on it. And they're all like the rooms of the floor are oriented in like a grid ish, not perfectly a grid, but grid-esque.
It's weird geometry. You can't see all of it too. You can only see
right. But there's multiple doors in each hallway, and so there's a little machine in the room in the bottom right corner. And it tells you that, okay, once you start this machine, you can open 3 of the doors. So very video gaming.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's not exactly
who built this floor?
Yeah. So it says you can open 3 doors, and you can...
Hutto made this floor.
Yeah, I know. Hutto! They did this one that trapped the Noid in. So any items that you collect on this floor, you can keep them. It's kind of, or they're coupons.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
This game loves coupons.
Yeah. So you get these coupons that are in these rooms, and any that you keep or any that you get to keep. And you can only keep once you exchange the coupons, you can't use the doors anymore. Like it's over at that point.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it wasn't like a one try and you're out kind of thing. So I reloaded a save a couple of times. And then I was like, oh shit, you can just go back and say like reset.
Right.
Yeah, so you basically, there's really no way to get all 3, right?
You can.
Okay, there is a way to get all 3, because I was like, I guess you just have to kind of pick your favorite 2 or what, favorite, or if you just want the middle, because I can never figure out how to get to the middle room.
Yeah. So it's a little tricky, but there's one hallway that leads to one of the rooms that has the coupon in it.
You want to go on the outside of the room. So if you walk out the room from the bottom right, you hug the wall and you go counterclockwise, right? And you go as far counterclockwise as you can. You'll open one door and then you'll head south, and then you'll be able to go into you'll open one more door and get into the leftmost room. When you're in the leftmost room, you collect the coupon that's in there. You get into the ventilation shaft. You go all the way to the right to the rightmost room. You get the coupon in there. Walk out the rightmost room and open your last door that takes you to the center room, and you can get all 3.
Yeah.
And then you jump back into the ventilation shaft, and you can take that back to the machine exchange room.
Yeah, and it's kind of worth it to do that because these items,
I'd say so, yeah.
One in particular, is very, very good to get.
Yeah.
So there's a star pendant, which just is an accessory that you can put on.
Which I didn't even think about for this boss coming up.
Yep.
Lord.
Yep.
Sorry,
so
go ahead.
it's an accessory that you can apply to one of your party, and it prevents you from getting poisoned.
Right.
Which, like Curtis said, that's going to be
which I
really
didn't equip, and
I kept redoing the boss fight, like just trying to go back and do other things.
Yeah.
And like the first 3 times I did it, I kept forgetting to equip the star pendant. But the other one is 4 slots, which the materia slots that I was talking about earlier, it has 4 of those because it's a very clever name.
Right.
But you can put that, and that just helps you level up more materia. Like I don't think they're banded together, but
I don't think so.
It's basically so you can make the most of the AP that you're getting.
Yeah. I didn't even equip it. I just walked on. I was like, whatever.
Yeah, it's always good to have your materia equipped, even if you're not going to use it, just so you can level it up.
Correct.
Because that becomes really helpful down the road. Right. And then the last one, Coupon C, gives you another all materia, which is something that you can combine with magic. Like I usually use it on cure, so I can cure my entire party.
Right. Yeah.
And the way that that works is you at like the first level of the all materia, you get to do it once.
Right. You get to cast a spell on everybody one time. Yeah.
And then the more you level it up, you can just eventually just keep like.
Did you know you can toggle off doing all? I didn't know that until this playthrough.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I know that you can do it in the menu when you're trying to cure.
Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah, in a battle, when you say you select fire and fire has all attached to it and it's targeting everybody, you can hit. It's one of the R or L buttons, and it'll actually single it back, so you can save your all hitting one for later.
Yeah, which also might be helpful if you're in a battle where something has an elemental weakness but another thing doesn't, or if there's a classic like RPG thing of like this is the fire dragon head and this is the ice dragon head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you can.
Cool. That's good. I didn't realize that.
Anything else about this floor?
No, let's keep going.
Fuck that floor.
There's a lot of floors.
64.
Nice.
We're going all the way to 69, baby.
Baby.
We don't actually go to floor 69, unfortunately.
Oh, do we not? Oh, yeah, you're right. No, we don't.
64 is the
Cowards.
YMCA.
Yeah, yeah. This is the retro fitness that's built into the building.
Yeah.
Everyone's working out in suits.
This is the Nintendo floor because it's 64.
Ooh. Oh. So I don't remember what the guy on the lunchroom floor says about the Shinra repair division, but the vending machine on this floor doesn't work, and it makes me very angry. And I like to assume that that's what he thought that we were here for.
You can punch one of them.
Oh, can you?
So there's two in the weightlifting area. There's two vending machines. You can try to get the blue one. You can try to get something out, and nothing will happen. It's like nothing. And then on the orange one, you can either. You can there's an option to punch it.
Really?
And then the lady behind the counter will come out like, please, no violence on this floor.
That's so great. So yeah, there's
Cloud's like, that's my middle name.
Yeah,
Cloud
Violence Strife. Strife. His last name is Strife.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and
goodness.
Calm is the town that he's from.
I know. Sure. Oh, Lord. Well, Calm's not where he's from.
His real name is Kakarot.
Yeah, right. So there's the workout room. There's like a nap room that they have, so they're like very forward.
Yeah, which is it's and one of the people on the treadmill is like, oh, if you get tired, you can just take a nap next door.
Yeah, and there's a save point in there as well.
The one guy is very relatable. He's just like sleeping, and he's got the ZZZ, and then he just says, "Please let me get some rest."
Yeah.
This salary man is just trying to get some sleep, and terrorists are there bothering him.
And so
you can take a nap.
A room that we can talk about a little bit, I think, is the room above the workout room, which is the locker room. Yeah. And if you go up to each individual one of the lockers, it'll actually say nothing or give you something. So
it'll say it's either the locker's locked or it'll give you, like, the first thing you get is a Phoenix down. Second thing is an ether.
Right. And then the last one has a megaphone in it, and Cloud just says, "What is this? This is a megaphone. Let's just leave it here."
Yeah, I think he says, like, there's no point in holding on to this.
Right, which... We'll come back to this megaphone like 50 episodes from now. So just keep it in your mind through the coming year as we do the Final Fantasy VII podcast.
Yeah, don't forget the megaphone.
Don't forget the megaphone. One day we'll come back.
Chekhov's megaphone. Remember it.
Chekhov's megaphone. That's right. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. They wouldn't show it to you if it didn't matter.
Yeah, we were talking about this before.
The sound.
We were talking about this before we started recording, and Alex was like, "Oh, I made a note of that." So like, it's some pretty good like if there's a dialogue box in this, like most of the time.
Why can't I have it?
Yeah, like
right. Why would it be there? Why can't I have it now?
That's such a weird thing in some other place. So it's
it should be an equippable for Barrett though, with his arm. He just
that'd be good.
Yeah, for Barrett. Yeah.
Cool. So I think then there's the next
floor.
Yeah, the next floor. So I didn't take any written notes past this point.
This is the pizza room.
Sucks.
Okay, so the pizza room, ridiculous. Real quick, let's talk about Sword Dance, which is an awesome enemy that I love. It is a robotic eel. Is that what you think it is?
It's like it kind of looks like one of those house centipede things, but it's like free floating and it's like an eel.
It's kind of. It's very skinny. It looks.
That's what I was thinking.
When I first saw it,
it like paper thin.
When I first saw it, it actually reminded me of those giant space whales from the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of like they're armor plated. They're almost like they kind of slink back and forth like an eel. They look very aerodynamic. This one has like a saw blades coming out.
It has a face of a chainsaw. It's badass. That's why I wanted to bring it up. It's because I thought it was an eel. I was like, a chainsaw eel. That's fucking tight.
Fuck yeah.
Sword.
Yeah, that's
very
cool.
elegant sounding.
Yeah. Sword Dance. Yeah.
If there's any fun trivia,
I think that's a Pokemon
thing.
Move too.
It is a Pokemon move that increases your attack power.
It actually kind of look this picture. This picture on the wiki makes it look kind of like a Windows 95.
Oh, let me see.
A screensaver.
There's also Oh my god, it does. Yeah, hell yeah. Like
That
instead of the flying toasters, it's the flying sword.
Yeah, flying sword. Oh my god, I'm gonna sit here tonight and I'm gonna get on GIMP instead of Photoshop, and I'm gonna
Fuck yeah.
sit here and just make a background of all swords dance.
I also like how you made the point to say that you're going to use GIMP instead of Photoshop. Because GIMP is free. Yeah.
Because fuck Adobe.
Fuck yeah. No. Shout outs to open source software. That's right. That's the way to be.
Yep.
When you fight the sword dance, one of the things you can get is some loco weed.
Oh yeah. That good.
I didn't even think about that. I got the item and I didn't even think it's called loco weed.
I think as an item.
Oh man. I would just like everybody to know that I'm not like purposefully straight edge. I'm just really uncool. I just like didn't even think about it. I am very square, but so is the developers of Final Fantasy VII.
Oh my god!
Oh man, brought it back together. So this floor sucks.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It's not. I mean, it's not the worst thing ever. It's just
there's a line of dialogue in it.
It's the easiest thing, but it's like the most mundane and just aggravating because you're rocking back and forth between the pizza, which has a piece missing. So when I say the pizza, it's a map of Midgar. It's a model.
There's a model in Midgar in the center of the room. Yeah,
and there's a chunk missing. And
8 chunks, 7 chunks missing.
So do you just find a chunk missing, or do you?
You open a chest. There's a punch.
First, you have to talk to it. I tried opening the chests first, and it doesn't work. You actually have to go up to the model and talk to the model, and then you can start putting.
Weird.
It in.
So it's just just back and forth. You put a piece in, a chest unlocks. You walk to the chest, probably fight an enemy on your way there. To get the other piece, walk back to the Midgar model, put it in, unlock
another
the next
one.
chest.
Unlocks.
Yeah, I turned on 3 times mode here, and I turned off random encounters because I was like, "Fuck this room."
You know, I will say this.
Domino should have been on this floor.
Say what?
Domino should have been on this floor. Doesn't have a riddle for each piece.
Right.
I will give you my key card if you answer me these riddles 3.
Yeah, exactly. I will say this like real quick because I feel like this is a good place to say it. I really because I've played all the Final Fantasy. Yes, I've played all the mainline ones. And the battle system in 7, I love it because like it typically just gets you in and out and on your way. Like they're not big drawn out issues most of the time. And so like even when I do jump into a battle, I'm like, all right, I enjoy the character models. I like running back and forth. Everything's really fluid, and it feels fun. So, like, I think that, like, you know, later on, like now in 2019, it's not as great to have like a menu-based JRPG a lot of times because people want to engage with the battle system a little bit more.
Well, guess what? There's a remake, and you can have hotkeys to all your moves.
A remake of Final Fantasy VII, you say?
That's what I hear.
This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about this.
Oh no. All right. Well, anyway.
Yeah, so you kind of like you put the model back together, and the box opens. It gives you the key card.
Yeah. Well, what I think is also interesting is that when you put it all together, Sector 7 is still damaged. Which means as soon as they blew it up, like, we need to get our artist in here and update
I was
the model.
wondering, so the way I interpreted it is that they did it beforehand to see how it would work. They were like, take that chunk out to make sure it'll like
How does it look?
Oh yeah, I guess.
How does it look? Is the aesthetic still fine? Yeah.
I guess it's not just like a model, so that they like a 1/16 scale model.
Yeah, because the next floor up is the executive.
Yeah,
one,
and
right?
they get into that a little bit.
And so I was kind of thinking like, okay,
That's a good
this
point.
might be here where they kind of go to fuck with this shit.
I just completely wrote this room off. I'm like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I will agree with you that I really like the battle system in this game, and in my normal playthroughs, I usually kind of had this like weird rule for myself where any random encounter I get, I just like fight.
Yeah.
Unless it's a Marlboro, which fuck that thing.
Yo, oh man, when we get to Final Fantasy
we'll get
VIII,
there, but
Lord.
fuck those things. But but like for this, I'm just like, oh, you know what? I'm actually going to turn off encounters here and there just because I'm on a time and like I want to get to these.
And it's back and forth. You're not you're not progressing through an area.
You don't gain too much other than like some slight EXP and AP.
Right.
But yeah, so
yes.
you finish this stupid puzzle.
Yeah,
that I
right.
hate.
And now we're what, 66?
We are now at the stanky floor.
Yeah, what floor is stank floor?
66.
66?
Oh,
All
that's
right, that's Satan's floor. The first thing I'd like to point out is the secretary walking the floor.
Oh, she's great.
Who says, you know, like, oh, I'm a secretary and I have to carry all this paperwork all day, but at least I get to meet a lot of cute guys.
Yep.
And if you wait until she walks all the way to the left of the screen and enters the control room, she'll see a dude in there and there's a girl working with him and she says, oh, hey, there's a cute guy, but it looks like he's with that girl. although that just makes it more exciting. And I was like, cool, cool.
Dang.
Is
Very
this like
saucy.
Chun-Li at the end of Street Fighter, which is like, I'm going to be a single girl. It's my new profession now.
Hell yeah. I want that to be my new profession.
you're
No, just kidding. I love my girlfriend very much.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, that joke made more sense in my head. Now it doesn't.
Yeah, now you're like, oh, no. So the executive conference room is here. This is where all the big dogs meet and everything, right?
Can I just note that on the wiki it says the only other known restroom in the building is on this floor, aside from floor 64.
There's the executive.
yeah.
There's the executive bathroom and the employee bathroom. That's all you get.
And people sure love talking about this bathroom.
Yo, yeah. Everybody on this floor is kind of like, yo, there's a smell coming
Yeah.
like in this floor. There's some kind of like something going on, and you can't get into the conference room at first. And so what they're trying to hint you toward is to go toward the bathroom because there's a stink coming from the bathroom that you may be able to connect the two.
Yeah, someone says that
you are maintenance, so you're just
we're in the repair division. That's right.
Yeah, someone's saying like, oh, it really stinks up here, or whatever. And then another one says like, oh, when you're using the bathroom, do you ever hear like whispers?
Yeah.
So put two and two together.
Yeah, put two and two together. It's
ghosts, and it's big ghosts.
Big poop ghosts. That's why they smell so bad. And
What
when
are
you
farts
go,
but food ghosts.
this will be the last show that you're on. No, I'm kidding. So you open the door to one of the stalls, and I like that when you interact with the stall, there is an option to do nothing. There's an option to climb up on top of the toilet, but the first option is flush?
First and best.
First and best is just flush, and you just click flush, and he just flushes the toilet.
So I gave it 2 flushes. I gave it the old currency flush.
One
for the bulk, the rest for the remainder.
When I replayed, I skipped the flush and hoping that when you stepped on it to
there
climb
would be
up,
some
that you
man,
would
that would
slip
be-
in or something.
Is there any like?
No.
Okay.
I was really hoping something fun would happen if you did.
Yeah.
So and just to give the listener a little bit more like idea of what this scene looks like too, we're looking down on the toilet and on Cloud from the.
That's not very nice.
He's lower than I am.
I've been looking down on him since episode 1.
Yeah, I know.
I've been talking a lot of shit on
But
Cloud.
our where we're actually able to see is from the vents. We're actually looking at him through a what do you call that? A vent.
Yeah, just
air shaft. Some more Metal Gear
The
goodness.
thing that goes over top of the vent. You know?
like a vent cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what you want to call it.
Yeah, what is that called?
Why are we? All of our brains are just melting.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, we're
The ones from Arkham Asylum.
We're
You're always
looking
kicking and
at
pulling them.
Cloud through a horizontally
Grate.
slatted metal grate.
Yes.
And when you say climb up, he jumps on top of the toilet, jumps up and grabs the grate and pulls it off and jumps up into the shaft.
Another Metal Gear. This
Very Metal
PlayStation
Gear
1 was a
shot.
very good year for vents.
For ventilation shafts, yeah. And we're able.
Pretty good year for greats too.
Yeah, well, yeah.
While we're on the topic.
This is one of PS1's greatest hits.
Woo!
Oh
yeah. So anyway, the Shinra conference room.
yeah, so you're able to take the ventilation shaft over top of the Shinra conference room, and there is a meeting in progress. And would somebody like to take it from there?
Sure. I like the way Barrett like talks about it. He's like, oh, that's a lot of suits.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there's a lot of familiar faces, some unfamiliar faces, but this is where a lot of the quote unquote big wigs, which someone in an earlier floor calls them, where they're up here. And Reeve, who we'll remember from earlier, who was talking about how like he was trying to get the president to not bring down the plate and was saying, that's not. And when President Shinra was like, oh, you need to go on a vacation. You
right.
So he's there, and he's kind of up to character again, saying like, "Do we have the damage estimates for Sector 7? Like, considering everything."
He's doing his job. He's considered.
Yeah.
He's concerned about the actual.
Yeah, he's
damage
saying
that's
it's going
been
to
done.
cost like 10 billion gil to repair it, like just from their first estimates, and President Shinra just like squashes that immediately. He's like, no, we're not rebuilding.
Yeah, and he says instead we're going
built
to
a model already. I'm not going to.
Yeah, we've already changed the model.
This will be
We're
the
not
new sector.
yeah,
But like Reeve jumps up and he's like, "What?" Like he like can't believe it. Like you can tell that he's not really like into this.
Right. Yeah,
He's constantly butting heads.
He seems like the one suit that we get multiple times who's like trying.
Who's not
to
a
at least...
huge piece of shit.
Yeah.
Well,
from
a certain point of view.
So Shinra says, we're not rebuilding, and he says we're instead going to restart the Neo Midgar plan.
Yep.
So this is the first time we hear that, right? Now we
even more
have
Akira?
heard say what?
It's gonna be even more Akira.
Yeah,
hell
Neo,
yeah.
and we've heard
Neat.
talk about like the Promised Land and
Yeah.
stuff like that,
So-
and how the ancients and heiresses.
Yeah,
related to
Reeve
it.
brings that up when he hears about Neo Midgar, and he says,
The Promised
so,
Land will
so
soon be ours.
yeah, like what about the ancients? And then President Shinra says, yeah, the Promised Land will soon be ours. So there's something connected with the ancients and this plan for Neo Midgar.
Right. And so the first thing he does is he orders a 15% rate hike for all. Is it all Mako?
Yep, all
the all
Mako.
Mako rates.
And
yeah.
Palmer's real excited
Yo,
about that.
Palmer is a adult child,
Yeah.
and so therefore every suit that works at a
Yeah, exactly.
a real life corporation.
Yep.
He's
and-
literally splitting in half his like character.
Yeah, it's like
in
a
excitement.
Pac-Man.
Yeah.
It's like a Pez dispenser.
Yeah. and he,
Oh
and
man!
I think have we heard his name before?
Palmer?
I think this is the
Palmer?
first instance
Yeah.
of
So
it.
we find out that he's in charge of the space program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's super excited about the rate hike. He's singing like tra la la, like he's like
Yeah.
real, like he can't contain his excitement. And he says like, please include our space program in the budget.
Yeah, and he says the extra income is going to be divided between Reeve and Scarlet. Yeah. And so I think in this meeting, also I should just say real quick that we have 5 people here, right? President Shinra, Reeve, Heidegger, the head of peace preservation, who made the
We
techno
saw him in the
sculpture.
last, we saw him in the last episode.
And there's the 2 new ones. We have Palmer, who we just learned is head of space. He's the head of space, he's the president of space. And then we have Scarlet, and we don't know yet her business, like what she does for the company, right? Like they don't actually say it in
Yeah.
this scene. I
She has a
think.
good sense of smell, though.
Yeah. So Scarlet and Reeve are going to divide up the extra money that's taken from it. And then Hojo comes
Yeah,
in.
enter
Is this
Hojo.
the first time we see Hojo? It is,
Yes,
isn't it? Yeah.
I believe it is.
So we meet character Hojo. He's like kind of this doubled over scientist. He's got long, kind of unkempt black hair. Some of it's in a ponytail. Some of it's just flying around
Real
his face.
menacing looking,
Real menacing. No eyebrows.
classic mad scientist look
Yeah.
that we all know and love.
Yep. Does he have glasses or a monocle? I can't remember.
think he has glasses.
He has glasses. You're right.
It looks like a monocle from this angle. But
Yeah, that's what I have here. Yeah.
His mouth is always open for some reason.
Is it
yeah,
really?
it's really creepy.
He just has like a big black circle where his mouth is.
Yeah, it's like very like the
I'm sure-
scream.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure it looked better on like the PS1, but
On a
watching
CRT
in HD,
on a-
you can see all those weird textures.
on a
like
10-inch
large,
CRTV.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
nice and crunchy.
So President Shinra asks him about the specimen. Is that what he says?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gross.
And yeah. And so
I just don't like the word specimen.
It's really bad here.
yeah.
I associate with
I
things
think
in
the thing
jars.
here is I think it's purposeful that they use the word specimen
Absolutely.
to be ambiguous.
Yeah.
So we as the player, we're following the narrative.
They're talking about the ancients.
They're talking about the ancients.
Scientist
They
guy
mention a
comes in.
specimen that they just got. We're meant to think, and maybe correctly so, that they're talking about Eris.
I think at first he does call her explicitly a specimen.
Yeah.
Because President Shinra says like, "How's the girl?"
Oh,
And-
that's right. Oh, and he says as a specimen.
and
You're
he brings
right,
up
you're
her
right.
mother,
That's right. Oh, and we get her mother's name.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Which is Ifalna.
Ifalna. That's how I read
That's
it. as well.
Eris's mother's name. Her real one, just
so-
to be clear.
Yeah, and they're comparing her to Ifalna, and he says that there's a difference of about 18%. Like she's inferior to her mother, so she is
Yeah.
an ancient, but her mother was, like, I guess, a more powerful ancient.
Maybe so, or maybe like
True blood kind of thing.
yeah. I was gonna say something like that. Like fucking, I hate using the word fucking purebred, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's very very disgusting. There's a lot of like real history
So
connotations.
she's
to
ancient
that.
on
Yeah,
her mother's side.
Yeah.
Is basically what
Which
you're saying.
probably, I mean, I would imagine is at least known when you're writing the story, right? That,
Oh,
like,
it has. Yeah.
like there's definitely a bad connotation.
Oh, and no, absolutely, and I think they're doing that for that specific
effect.
purpose to just
Yeah.
kind of they just keep hammering in how shitty Shinra is
Exactly,
and like
yeah.
how far they're willing to go.
Yeah,
to
these
meet
are
their-
not people, and their history is just a set of numbers. And,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Exactly. Like even when they were talking about the rate hike, like someone probably Reeve was like, "Oh wait, like the people are gonna hate that," and he's like, "No,
Yeah.
we just saved them from avalanche. They're
Yeah,
gonna
they're
eat
not
this
gonna-
shit up." Like,
yeah.
They have no sense of compassion or like humanity even
Right.
for anyone other than like the only thing that matters to them is making money. And
Right.
They don't care how many people they kill to
Right.
make money. If only there was an analog in the real world.
I
for
know.
stuff like
Happy July 4th, everyone. So Shinra asks Hojo how long is this going to take? Like, how long is your research into this going to take? And
Yeah.
I love Hojo's answer to it. He goes, probably about 120 years. He just says it straight up. It's probably impossible to finish in our lifetime, or even in the lifetime of the specimen, for that matter.
Yeah, and I think at this point we should probably throw in just a quick content thing. We had something at the top of the show. This is kind of the part that we're going to be talking about a little bit.
Yeah.
So Hojo's plan is, he said, that's why we're thinking of breeding her.
Yeah.
Then we can create one that could withstand our research for a long time.
Right.
So super fucked up.
Yeah, very fucked up. He says, and speaking of this like breeding project, he says, that's what I need to plan. The mother is strong and yet has her weakness. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that too, when we say mother, we're getting ready to see a scene on the next floor that's going to bring it together as well. Which, oh man, if this was only the Mother's Day episode, I wish.
We'll have a special Mother's Day episode.
Oh man, this Final Fantasy VII would be so good for a Mother's Day episode.
Yeah, there's some good mothers in this run of the.
It's a running theme in the game.
Yeah. And in the next one a little bit too. But
Anyway,
anyway,
so we follow. So the meeting's over. Right after that, I always thought it was kind of awkward that like Hojo leaves on this like very mysterious last line and just kind of walks out. And the very next line is he's like, okay, meeting adjourned. Like, no problem. Like, we're not going to talk about that at all.
Help yourself to the vitamin water in the fridge.
He's
the
just
Shinra energy drink or whatever.
He's cool with it. So they all leave. And as everybody's filing out, Scarlet is the last one to file out. And she looks up right at us.
Directly.
Which is in the ventilation shaft. And she just says, something stinks. Mm-hmm. So she can smell the...
Is that double meaning? I don't know anything about Scarlet.
I don't think
it's double meaning or anything, but
it sounds like foreshadowing.
She stinks.
She stinks. Yeah,
Right.
I think it's just a thing of like she might suspect that Avalanche is there or something. I don't think she. I don't know.
I think she smells the.
She smells the
bathroom.
shit. Yeah, it might just be a comedy thing.
Yeah.
But
Gotcha.
It's worrisome that this Shinra exec is looking directly at you.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah, right. And so we don't actually have the key card for the next floor at this point. Mm-hmm. So what happens is we actually follow Hojo as he's walking out up to the next floor. And we kind of trail behind him. And he just leaves the door open as he walks. Because he is kind of like in his own head doing his science stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And
it's totally normal guy stuff.
It's totally normal guy stuff.
He's got a man cave. We all have full specimens. We all have that, right?
Full of specimens.
I call mine a gamer shame dungeon. Thank you very much.
So yeah, we follow him up to the next floor, and I don't think we can actually talk to any of the NPCs on this floor. I believe when I tried, they just don't say anything.
There's one.
Is there?
Yeah, there's like 3 NPCs at a control panel that you try to talk to, and they're just busy working.
Yeah.
And then there's another guy just by a control panel who's just like, he's just like talking to himself about Hojo's specimen.
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything of worth, but
and so
Barrett mentions that he knows Hojo. He says, I remember him. And then
that's right. Yeah,
that Hojo guy, he's in charge of the Shinra's science department. Cloud, don't you know him? And Cloud kind of like shakes his head. And he
says, this is the first time I've seen him.
Yeah, he says, so that's what he looks like.
Yeah.
So like Cloud has heard of this guy. He's
Right.
got a reputation, but he's never seen him.
Right. So we follow him to the left side of the screen. What floor is this that we're on right
67.
now? 67? Okay. It's the one above the one we were just on.
Yeah.
Which I guess every floor that we're on is the one above.
That's usually how floors work.
Yeah.
Unless you're in a hotel that's superstitious and 14 is after 12.
12, yeah. And so we follow him into this room where I feel like there's 2 important pieces of architecture in this room. There's like a dome with a little view. It's like a metal dome. Mm-hmm. You can't see into it, and it has a little viewing window. And it seems whatever's inside seems to be glowing or something. Yeah, with a hatch door. And on the other side of it is a see-through cylinder, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a glass enclosure cylinder.
Yeah,
thing.
like a
containment pod.
A containment pod kind of thing. Yeah. And we walk up behind Hojo, and he stops walking. And so Cloud kind of like, oh shit, and dodges out of the way, and ducks for cover.
Behind a crate where you can see his hair.
Yeah, where you can totally see him.
Easily see him.
Yeah.
Like there's like hella crates in this place, and he ducks behind. He doesn't even duck behind one. He just goes to a corner and sits next to one.
Yeah. And Hojo talks to this creature that's in the cylinder that's in this containment field, and we can't really see it very well right now. But a second from now, when we pan over, we kind of get it's a quadrupedal like a dog, like a wolf. And it's like full red. It has like tufts of hair on the back and on the head. And other than that, it seems to either be short haired or like hairless.
Yeah.
It's when you give Scooby-Doo a Firestone.
Yeah. That's a pretty good description of it, right? And it even has like a little fur on the tail, like a fucking Charmander would have like fire on the back. So Pokemon bringing that in. But he kind of talks to it.
Yeah, he leans in close to it and he calls it his precious specimen. And then the guy who is working at the console, who's like muttering to himself about the specimen, says, like, oh, is this today's specimen? He says, yes, like raise it to the next floor.
Yeah. And then Hojo goes on. The Shinra employee goes back to his desk. And
Hojo just walks straight past you.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
And then you get a little bit better of a look at the creatures. And
Tifa goes up and kind of like looks at it and talks about it for a second. And then Cloud is distracted by something. Mm-hmm. So he looks over and he sees that dome that has the little viewing window.
Yeah.
And does he say anything on the way up to it?
So he kind of looks around a little bit and he's like almost like he's sensing something is what I got from it.
Yeah.
And then he looks over and sees the glowing purple like window thing and he starts walking towards it and he says Genova ...
That's right. Yeah. And this is the first time we've heard the word Genova?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I think so as well. So he looks into the viewport and there is a
Mewtwo.
There's a Mewtwo. There's a headless torso of a woman in it, and it's very alien. Like it doesn't there's some like body horror aspects to it, right?
It doesn't have a head.
It doesn't have a head.
There's an eye where there shouldn't be one.
Some pretty strong clavicles.
It's got mad clavicle going on.
Got a screenshot.
And
goopy in there.
Yeah, and it's a little like it's almost corpse-like in some ways too.
Yeah,
but he does mention that it's moving. He's like, it is still alive. Like that thing doesn't have a head.
Yeah, he backs up and he starts freaking out a little bit. He says, Genova, Sephiroths.
Yeah, like possessive
apostrophe
Sephiroths.
S, and then he says, so they've brought it here.
Yeah, so this is obviously something that we're going to be talking about. Like this is of some import.
It's an important detail. And he's having another one of those moments, I feel like. And Tifa's like, Cloud, you got to be strong. And he's like, did you see it? And Barrett goes, see what?
I love Barrett's response to this.
I love Barrett so much.
Barrett is so good. His response is so good because he has one line that he says about it. It's all in the same text box. Barrett looks in, sees this pulsating, moving corpse thing without a head, and he just says, where's its fucking head? This is stupid. Let's keep going.
Yeah, and like it's so good because Cloud has, like has his moments of like not being all there and everything, but like he's freaking out a little bit.
Yeah,
he's
like I have a
ex-soldier.
screenshot. He is on the floor and Tifa's like holding him up.
And he's like, Tifa's holding him up. She's like, you got to be okay. And he's like, it's moving. It's still alive. And he's like really freaked out by it. And Barrett's just like, where the fuck's that thing's head? Like
this is dumb. Yeah, he just immediately, this is stupid.
This is like textbook horror movie like archetypes. So there's one person who's like freaking out and the person's like, come on guys, chill.
Yeah, this is dumb. It's just some guy in a mask.
He's like, who fucking cares? Let's save this girl that we need to save.
Yeah. And so and that's it too. As soon as he says that, everybody's just like, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
And so they pull it back together, and this is where we get a save point and the poison material like we were talking about earlier.
Also, there's random encounters here for this like weird.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's this thing called a moth slasher, which is like another weird robot enemy that's weak to.
Is it the Spank bot?
No, it's not the Paddlin bot.
Okay. I did see one of those.
Yeah. And something of note here is that you can actually steal a carbon bangle from it, which is like it gives you, I think, one more slot than the current materia that you or the current armor that you have.
Is it really?
Yeah, and it increases your stats as well. So it's like it's worth picking up. Like I might just go and
that's awesome.
Grind that and get a couple.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure in the next town I'll be able to buy like them for like 200.
I'm sure, for cheap,
Nothing.
Yeah, but you earn it.
Hey, earn the gil, man. So we go up to the next floor, and this is going to be the highest floor we go to on this episode.
Yep.
Where our team kind of rushes out of the elevator, and we see Hojo, who didn't walk toward the elevators earlier. He walked back the other direction, but here he is on this floor anyway.
Is there a stairway around the top?
I guess he could have taken... Yeah, there is. There is
a stairway.
You're right. Yeah, I guess he took the stairs.
He uses key card.
Yeah. So he likes to get
we took
a little
the access,
aerobic,
like the science department, like access elevator. It just goes between the two floors.
The freight elevator.
Yeah, he likes to get aerobic exercise in while he's working. He spends so much time at a desk.
He doesn't go to that gym. He doesn't use that treadmill.
Right.
He's got to get his cardio in where he can.
Just get your steps in,
Yep.
His Fitbit is collecting dust, so it's,
Right,
it's right around New Year's.
It's called a shin bit.
A shin bit.
So you take the crate elevator, basically.
Yeah,
right. And we come up here, and then the first thing we do is there's that cylinder in the room below us, the little enclosure. It continues on up into this floor, and this is actually where the top of that enclosure is. And Eris is in there, and so our team kind of walks out of the elevator and says, "Oh, it's Eris! There she is." And Hojo's standing there, and instead of like freaking out and being like, "Who are you?" or whatever, he goes, "Oh, is that her name? Anyway, what do you want?" So he's just like kind of like interested, like, "Oh, is that who's in that? Okay, fantastic."
So he didn't even ask?
Yeah.
A specimen, I guess.
But wait, isn't Shinra been trying to get her for a while, though,
I
right?
imagine that he like knows who
he's
that
just
individual is.
He's so scientific. He doesn't, and he just like so dehumanized. He's like, this is a specimen. I don't care what its real name is. Aerith, that's her name. The
CEOs are like, we have a specimen for you. We're in contact with it. We'll get it to you, kind of thing.
I think
that's what I
it's funny
assumed.
too that he like sees them. And he's like, what do you guys want?
Yeah, he's not even like immediately threatened or anything.
Yeah, and it kind of just like this is a recurring theme on pretty much all the floors where like no one realizes that you're like the enemy and that you're there for that reason, and they're just like kind of cocky. They're just like, oh no, like
interestingly,
we're safe here.
this is also a recurring Hojo theme. Now that I think about it, every time we meet him, he's just kind of like, "Oh, you, hi." And much more concerned with this study and like the ancients and Neo Midgard than
and
like actually worrying about
mad scientist plans and shit.
Yeah, I get the feeling that like he is truly terrible, and that like Shinra is like the only organization terrible enough to let him do the terrible things he wants.
Exactly.
So he's just cool with it, but he doesn't really have an allegiance to Shinra so much. It's just as long as they have the means for him to do his research, then that's fine with him. So he's never really threatened by you. He's like, "Oh, it's you guys again.
Yeah,
how's it going?"
Yeah. And there's a point here too where like he realizes that you're outsiders that are trying to take his specimen, which is a really shitty way to say, save your friend. And Barrett's like, "Oh yeah, like you should have noticed that we were outsiders earlier." And he has this great bit of dialogue where he says, "There's so many frivolous things in this world."
Yeah,
kind
right.
of just, exactly like you were saying. And then he's like, "Oh, what are you guys going to kill me?" I wouldn't do that. I don't think you should. He's like, "All of this machinery, I'm the only one who can use it." Yeah.
Would that be smart of you to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he goes ahead and gives the order to raise what's in the room, like the animal that we saw in the room below, up into that enclosure as well. Yep. So Eris is already in there, and then we get that dog from below also gets raised up. And I forgot. Someone says, "What are you doing? Like, what do you think you're doing?" And Hojo's answer is lending a helping hand to an endangered species.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are on the brink of extinction. Which, does Hojo know how sex works?
He's a scientist, dude.
So I guess I shouldn't argue with him. So no.
Have you seen his glasses and his greasy hair?
Yeah, right.
For the listener, I'm wearing my glasses and my hair is very greasy right now.
So he's put Eris and this creature in and has been like, "Yo, we'll just breed them together. It'll be fine."
Yeah, and it's such a again, dehumanizing, really shitty way of looking at it where he's like, "Okay, I have a couple problems here. One, both of these specimens are the last of their kind that we know of. Right. And two, we don't have enough time to do the research in their lifetimes." So his thing is like, "Oh, we'll just do the only logical thing.
And breed them together.
So that we have more specimens to work with for longer." And
right.
he's just straight logic. He even says "Oh, you guys should think out your move logically before you do anything."
Right.
But luckily,
so
one of the guys in our
fucking
team,
Barrett. Oh, what a fucking hero.
He's got one logic, and it's fucking get shit done.
Get shit done.
And
if something is in the way, shoot it.
It's so good, and it always works out for him, and it makes me so fucking happy.
So he fires at the enclosure. He's just shooting the enclosure, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't it looks like it's glass, but it doesn't shatter or anything. It just heats up or something.
An alarm starts whirring, and it starts glowing.
It starts glowing, so you can no longer see Eris or the creature inside, right? And he goes, "Oh no, my specimens!"
Yep.
And so he runs and he throws open the door, and the dog creature jumps out and
starts
mauls him.
Mauling him.
The animation is
real good.
Yo, he would be dead. He would be dead because he is like right on his neck,
Yeah,
dude.
I mean, this thing,
This
like,
dog is-
like we're saying dog, but it also looks like a lion. Like it's
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and actually, I think they multiple times refer to it as a lion.
Yeah.
In the game. Yeah.
so and it's,
And I'm gonna say it for right now, but we'll change that in a second.
So it's a great moment too because like they've just keep saying like how shitty of a person that Hojo is. Like even before that happened, like he says, "Oh no, both of my animals," and Tifa's like, "Animals? Like one of them's a human being. Like you're
right."
And so Cloud's like, "Okay, now's our chance to save Aerith."
Yeah. Yeah.
And Cloud runs in there to gets Aerith out. And then...
And she goes, yeah, thanks. And I like that line, too.
Yeah.
She's like, thanks.
Yeah. And then there's a noise, and Tifa's like, Cloud, what's wrong? And he's like, the elevator's moving.
Yeah, the elevator that actually brought that animal up in the first place is moving again.
Yep.
Right.
And then Hojo says, this is no ordinary specimen. This is a very ferocious specimen.
Right. And then...
this creature.
What is this lion dog's first line? I don't have the first line.
I think he says, he's rather strong. I'll help you all out.
That's it.
So this thing can talk.
Yeah, and Tifa immediately goes, "Oh, this animal can talk," and we're talking about the wolf or whatever, right? The wolf lion.
And his response.
I'll talk as
spoilers
much.
Alert! It's a he.
Yeah, it's a he. He says, "I'll talk as much as you want later, miss."
And he calls her Miss. He's so polite.
Yeah, I know.
Like not only is he like, I love this too because like you'll see like. Usually in video games or media, you'll see animals with like human characteristics, or they'll talk, and they'll have like kind of broken like speech patterns.
Yeah, like
and he's just
caveman
very,
speech.
he's just very like to the point, like, oh, I'll talk as much as you'd like me to, miss. Like,
Yeah, yep,
and so polite.
yep. And
A real charmer.
do we name him here?
Yeah, Cloud says, "What's your name?" And he says, "Hojo has named me Red 13
Right.
or Red She."
Oh, she. Yeah. A name with no meaning whatsoever to me. Call me whatever you wish.
Like the food dye. Red number 13.
Yeah.
Red
Red
X
13. Yep.
II.
Which I like because like I feel like this is like the one character you could canonically rename and it would be fine.
Yeah.
Because no matter what you do, you're going to get their real name later.
Yeah, you do get this real name. We won't say it now. Did
Yeah.
you rename it?
No.
I didn't. I wanted to. I think I did initially, but then I had to go back to an earlier save.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't rename him because I'm like, yeah, I also am probably going to want to take screenshots and post them. So,
Right.
Don't want to give that away. But
So at this point, Cloud says, okay, one of you needs to take Eris and get out of here. And then me, Red 13, and whoever else you pick will enter into a boss battle, right?
Yep.
So who did you pick to run
I had
last?
Barrett just because I like Tifa. I think she's one of like
I kept Tifa in the party.
She's one of like I love Barrett too. Like he's
Right.
great with his skill set and everything. But I really like how like Tifa's like one of the more powerful like strength based characters. I feel like. So I always like to have her.
And this is the first time where you get to kind of change your loadout for,
Yeah.
your party now.
Yeah, like that. It's the first time that you have enough people to make it like a choice, and it's not just like, oh, well, you're with Aerith now, or
Right.
oh, this.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which becomes a problem later for me because I love every character in this
I
game.
know.
And I'm like, oh, I want
know.
to use this.
They all are really
They're all
good.
so
like,
good.
I feel like in most Final Fantasies,
I
there's
mean,
one or
one's not.
two.
There's
that,
one
like,
that's not.
Just get 2 switches.
There's one that's
Well,
not. You're
I'll
right.
talk
There
about that
is
later.
one that's not.
Foreshadowing.
Oh man, yeah. In the Golden Saucer, are we talking about that
Yeah,
one?
yep.
Okay. So we get into this battle. Does anybody have the name of the creature? I didn't take a screenshot.
I do. I have it in my notes, but I think I also have a screenshot. Which
Say,
one
read
can
it
I
out
get to?
loud because it is named.
It's
hilarious. Yeah.
It's sample H0512, and there's these little creatures in front of it that are called the same thing, the sample H0512-opt,
Okay. Yeah.
which I guess optional.
Yeah.
I don't know what the opt stands for, but it's a very scientific term. It's very
So this boss starts out by poisoning everybody. That's its first move.
unless you
gate.
use that handy dandy star pendant.
Unless you got that star pendant and you were smart enough to equip an item that you just got, as though, the game would tell you, like, beforehand, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to give you this. I didn't, and everybody got poisoned. And I was like, oh, whoops. Now, in this game, poison doesn't do... It's not devastating.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, it's
It's
really not that
annoying. You got to manage your health when you're down lower, but...
Right. I just
It's-
kind of thought of it as an additional mechanic to the fight that
Yeah.
just my HP is going down at all times.
Yeah. Another cool thing about this fight too is if you kill one of the little like Metroid spider-looking things that
The ops.
are in the front, yeah, the opts, it'll use this magic that has a really cool name that's called Reanimagic.
Yeah,
And it'll just bring
Reanimagic.
it back, and I think it also heals itself a little bit.
It does the healing animation on the other ones, but it says miss.
Yeah.
'Cause
No,
I
but
think
I mean, I think it heals
on
itself
itself, it
too.
may, it
I
may.
think. I could be wrong about that, but I think.
I looked out. I got a certain point into this battle, he did the Reanimagic, and then I had Cloud and Tifa both go limit at the same time and just fucking did like half of his HP immediately. It was real good.
Nice.
Red 13 also has Fire and All already equipped and Sense.
Yeah.
So you can just...
Well, I think... does he already have that equipped?
Yeah.
I kind of thought that it was whoever was in your other party, they just auto-switched it for you. But I don't know. I think you might be right, though.
I think I had Sense on Barrett, so I... Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I think after this you have 2 Sense materials. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Point is, because you'll be like immediately
you're not going
after
into this
you're
unequipped.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
It's not like the boss battle in the last thing where they're like, "Oh, are we ready to go?" and they let you open a menu. It's just it throws you in. Everyone's equipped, so it's a fair fight.
So it's not real tough. There's not really a lot going on. It doesn't do a lot of damage, is the thing.
Yeah.
So
and also, like we just got the Loco Weed, which I think casts Bio or something.
Oh, okay.
I forget what it does.
Or no, that casts Confuse.
Right.
Or Confuse. Okay. But we also recently got the Poison materia, so you might think, oh, I'm going to use Poison against this thing, which I did, and then I used Poison and just healed it.
Is that what happens?
Yeah.
Man.
So I think what that's trying to illustrate to you is use the elemental on your armor with poison so that you actually absorb.
Yeah. So you probably have 2 members at least who aren't affected by poison.
Yeah. If you can take like really subtle hints like that.
Right. Well, the listener now has a subtle hint of an entire podcast of us telling them to do that.
Yeah.
So this boss isn't too much to write home about. It's
a pretty standard fight. It's pretty
goopy.
It's a little goopy. It's a little...
Looks kind of Resident Evil-y looking.
I was going to say body horror-ish, yeah.
Yeah.
But we take care of it.
You beat it, drops a talisman, and
a materia just pops out of the elevator.
Yeah.
It just goes boop and just like just sits there during the next cutscene too. Like while everybody's talking, it just goes boop and just sits there.
Yep.
And then there's
the music changes to Red 13's theme, which is one of my favorites.
Does it?
Yeah.
The dum bum 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 bum. That one? Really? I didn't even notice that.
So it's similar to another track that happens later at the Cosmo Canyon.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, it's slightly different, but it's the same sort of build-in with the drums and everything. Fun fact, that little like riff at the beginning, the dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
That's like one of the first things I learned how to play on bass.
Love it. Actually, yeah, the lead is one of the very first things I ever learned on guitar. So.
Hell yeah.
Would you like to play something for us now, Carl?
Yes.
Yeah. Pick up the bass. Oh
yeah, there is a bass right over there.
Hold on. Here we go.
This is going to sound great.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
There we go. Yeah, just an acoustic version of an electric bass.
Something like that.
There you go. There's the actual music.
Now that's good podcast.
now that's what I call podcasting. Oh God! Talk while I do this.
Shout outs to my older brother who begrudgingly tried to help me learn that when I started playing bass, and he was just like, he was probably like, oh, I thought he was gonna be fucking cool now that he's starting music. He's playing this nerd shit.
Yeah. So there's a line here, and I wanted to know if anybody else was like, what does that mean? But as soon as the boss fight's over, someone asks oh, is Eris all right? Make sure she's all right. And Tifa says she seems all right in many ways.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I don't.
What does that mean?
Oh, but Red 13 actually follows it up, showing just how kick-ass of a character he is too. He says.
Oh, yeah.
He says,
literally uses the words right to choose.
Yeah, which, fuck yeah. Because,
Sorry,
consent,
go ahead and say the line.
Yeah, he says, I have a right to choose, too. I don't like two-legged things.
Yeah.
And that's, he's like, Hojo had this plan to, against both of our consent, to try and breed us. And he's like, no, fuck that. I have sentience as well. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And then he apologizes to Aerith for...
Yeah.
Because when he first came up, it looked like he was about to pounce on her, and that's why everyone sort of freaked out. And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, miss. It
was an act.
Yeah, I was trying to catch Hojo off guard."
Right. And then Barrett asks, "Well, what are you?" And he goes, "That's in red says
an informed question,
but difficult to answer. I am what you see."
Hell yeah, he's very stoic.
I am as God made me, so.
Yeah. What I love about Red, and I won't go too far into it because we'll get into this as we go through the game or whatever. But I like Red's personal journey, because I feel like it's in multiple parts, right? Like, whereas a lot of people they'll like either start selfish and become generous, or start one way and become another way. I feel like he has multiple acts to his, where he's like super mature, a baby, and then like a hero,
and it all makes sense.
Yeah, and it really works out the way, because right now, like,
I'm really excited to
he's
talk about
the most eloquent character on the cast thus far, by far, right? And so, like, if you were to guess his age, you'd think he's at least like well into adulthood.
Yeah, like before this, the oldest one was Barrett, and the only time that he's really shown his age is when it came to Marlene,
right?
And him being,
right. And so that's one thing I love about this character. I think they did a really, really good job with him.
I'm excited to find out more about him.
Yeah.
What is the materia that pops out?
I didn't get to that yet.
I didn't write it
down. We'll talk about that next episode. Because I got to the point.
Skill?
It is enemy skill.
Which is
it is enemy skill.
Crucial one.
Yeah.
Like you can get some really good. Like, that's actually a speedrun.
Matro magic.
Yeah.
Anyway,
there's like a barrier one that you can get that just like speedrunners like have to use. Really? And there's certain ones that there's. So that's a really good materia to have.
So I'll say this, at least until we cut it or whatever. I'll just walk through the very next thing that happens and be done there. There is one Shinra employee on this floor, and he says, like, hey, I'm not your enemy. I'll prove it. Here's the key card to go to the next floor. See, so I don't hurt me. And he runs away. And so the team agrees that we have Eris now. We have Red 13 in our party. Let's meet on the 66th floor elevator.
Yep.
So that's where we're going to meet.
You split into two teams.
Right? So you can make whoever you want. I made Eris in red.
Nice.
Because I want Eris to get her limit breaks in and all that stuff. So I went back down the box elevator. I used that save point right there. And that's where I turned it off.
Right on.
Yeah.
That's around where I did too.
All right. I love it. So what we're going to do next time for the listeners is we are going to play from this point in the game. And we're going to play up to a town called Calm. So without trying to give spoilers away or anything like that, obviously from just saying that, we're going to be in another town for the first time, right? Because up to this point in the game has been in Midgar. And I can't remember where I heard it or where I saw it, but I did read an account of somebody's friend one time playing this game and being like, yo, this game's pretty tight. And then another day coming back and being like, yo, did you know the game continues after the city? Like thinking that the city was the whole game and like, oh my God, it keeps going. And
I wonder how intentional it was at that time, just because it was such a massive thing. And like, you see all this grand
all of them
scenery
have had overworlds.
And everything's just like, like moving from like, what was it? Super Nintendo was the last one. And then this one is on PlayStation. And then it's such a huge shift where you're like, oh my God. Like,
let me think 2 seconds here. Yes, all of them up to this point get you into the overworld within the first hour. Yeah. Like, you just roll right out. And at this point, we're a good bit into Final Fantasy VII. Yeah. Before we've even seen another town or the idea that there's even life outside of Midgar. Yep. Right?
Yeah, there was like one hint of it where when you're in, I think, the Sector 6 or 5 slums, you can walk all the way to the end, like past Aerith's house, and there's like, you're just encased in like a dome. Yeah, I think it's 5 because I think there's a big 5 on the door. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be where we do the next episode at. Show notes. Intro by DJ Cutman. Thank you so much. Leave us a review on iTunes. Give us 5 stars. And if you think we deserve 1 star, tweet at us instead.
Yeah. So I also I thought it would be pretty fun if you guys wanted to leave us a 5-star review and have it be worth something more than what it's worth to us, which is immeasurable. But if you're tired of us pronouncing one of your favorite characters' names wrong, just put in there if you think she's Eris or Aerith, and we'll try and tally it up before each episode, and we'll make that the canon one. We're still going to pronounce it wrong, but you'll know for that week the canon way to pronounce the name will be.
There was
I think we're at 2-1 the last time I checked.
Oh, somebody's on my side?
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Shout outs to Ron.
Right.
Shout outs to my friend House, not to be confused with Hell House, but he's actually the one who gave me that idea because he, in his rating, he gave us 5 stars and said, it's Aerith.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. Yeah.
So I was like, wait, that would actually be pretty funny. So, and shout outs to my buddy Jay, who also voted on Team Aerith. So
yeah, love it. Alex?
Any featured music you might have heard is by Nobuo Uematsu.
Yep.
And you can find a link to this soundtrack, which is now on Spotify as of like a month ago. So
yeah, that's true.
Go give that a listen if you want to hear more than 30 seconds of that.
Yep, love it.
It's definitely worth it.
And follow us and check us out on Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail, every FNFF.
Yep.
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as we say at the end of every show,
Happy 4th of July, abolish ICE.
Yeah! Abolish ICE!